I remember when there wasn't Newark traffic, but those days are gone forever, right?
Wait, what does Dave say? We build cities.
I didn't know I was not here when there was no traffic. I didn't even know. Only 30 years here. I'm
You only
guessing
know
those were good.
traffic?
I never knew the city without it.
Really?
Listen, guys, this is not a parking study.
Ah,
That's a great job.
Parking
Traffic
studies?
expert.
Thank you. May begin, Chair.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a regular meeting of the Newark Zoning Board of Adjustment. Today's date is Thursday, May 1st, May Day, 2025. The purpose of this meeting is to hear requests for variances from the Newark zoning and land use regulations under authority of the municipal land use law. If you're an applicant for a D or use variance, you should be aware that such a variance can only be granted after showing that special reasons for the grant of the variance exist, and that the variance can be granted without substantial detriment to the zoning plan of the city of Newark. You should also be aware that in order to be granted such a variance, you require an affirmative vote of 5 members of the 7-member Board of Adjustment. Other variances require a majority of 4 votes to grant the variance. If you're an applicant for any variance and your variance is denied by this board, you have a right to appeal to the Superior Court of the State of New Jersey within 45 days of notice of the decision, and that court may overturn the decision of this board. If you're an objector to any type of variance and the variance is granted, you too may appeal to the Superior Court of the State of New Jersey within 45 days of the decision of this board. If you do file an appeal of the board's decision, we ask that in addition to complying with any notice required by statute or court rule, that you serve a copy of your pleadings on the zoning board's secretary. Pursuant to the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act, also known as the Sunshine Law, adequate notice of this meeting was provided by notifying the Star Ledger, the Jersey Journal, the New York City Clerk, and posting a copy on the bulletin board in the basement of Newark City Hall. In addition to adequate notice on the Open Public Meetings Act, electronic notice of this remote public meeting was placed on the City of Newark's website as permitted by statute. Members of the board, members of the public may notify the host that you would like to ask a question or make a statement by using the raised hand feature at the bottom of your computer screen or mobile device. If you're on a telephone, you can alert us by pushing *9 on your telephone. I would remind everyone that the zoning board is a quasi-judicial board. If an appeal is taken from our decision, we're required to provide a copy of the official transcript to the Superior Court. The chat is not part of the official transcript. So I'd ask that you refrain from using the chat. We want to make sure that your questions, the answer to your questions, and your statements are part of the official record. Additionally, when you use the chat, it pops up on the screen. It's just like if we were like there, like right there. It's just like if we were in public and you were speaking out loud out of turn. So again, I ask you to refrain from using the chat unless you're instructed by the board to do so. The meeting of the Board of Adjustment will now come to order. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Member Hall,
Present.
Member Hardesty,
I'm sorry, present.
Member Gomez-Sañez,
Present.
Member Jones,
Present.
Member Rivero,
Present.
Member Cobian,
Present.
Member Torres,
Present.
Chair Alphonse.
Present. Are there any requests for adjournments or postponements? If so, please identify yourself by raising your hand. Request for adjournments or postponements. Let's bring council in. One moment.
Ms. Salcedo, we can't hear you.
Check. Council, your appearance for the record, please.
We cannot hear you. No.
Commissioner Comesañez can help you with any audio problem. Wow.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Council, what application are you here on?
I'm here on application ZBA 2505.
Okay, this is application ZBA 2505, 572 South 18th Street. Are there any persons with an interest in this application? If so, please identify yourselves by raising your hands. You can do that by using the raise hand feature at the bottom of your computer screen or mobile device. If you're on a phone, please press star 9. I'd ask you to do so now.
I'm not sure if there's anyone on the line. I'm here to request an adjournment.
Yep, I got that.
Okay.
Let the record reflect there are no raised hands. Council, did you place your appearance on the record?
I have not.
Please
So
do so.
thank you. Good evening. My name is Cristina Diaz Salcedo of Foley. I am here on behalf of Brick City Development, the owner and applicant of the property located at 572 South 18th Street. Tonight, we're requesting an adjournment of the pending application to allow time for internal discussions and to address several comments outlined in the board reports. A formal request for this adjournment was submitted on May 1st, 2025. Therefore, we respectfully request that the matter be adjourned to the scheduled meeting on June 12, 2025, and that the notice be preserved with the board's consent. Additionally, the applicant agrees to waive the statutory time period of this application through June 30th, 2025. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. So Ms. Mejia,
Yes,
council, well, what's the next open date we have?
June 12th.
Was that the date you asked for, council?
Yes.
Wow.
Mhm.
Look at that. Council, would you agree, on behalf of your applicant, to renotice all persons on the notice list by regular mail about this new date?
Well, I did request to preserve the notice, but if the board doesn't agree with that, we can definitely do that.
Well, we'll preserve your notices, but I'm asking if you'll agree additionally to resend the notices with the new date.
Sure,
Because the notices you gave had today's date, right?
correct.
Right, so would you agree to send by regular mail new notices to all the persons on the list?
Yes,
And will you also agree to paste the new date on the sign on the site?
yes.
Thank you. May I have a motion to adjourn application ZBA 25 05 to June 12th?
Motion.
Motion, Comesaña, second, Hall, call the roll.
Member Hall,
Yes.
Member Hardesty,
Yes.
Member Comesañas,
Yes.
Member Jones,
Yes.
Member Rivero,
Yes.
Member Cobian,
Yes.
Chair Afar.
Yes. Thank you, council. With those agreements, the matter is adjourned to June 12th.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night. Are there any additional requests for adjournments or postponements? Additional requests for adjournments or postponements? I see none. I'm just trying to find one thing. Call the next case, please.
The time is now 6:27 PM. The next item on tonight's agenda is ZBA 24-73, located at 616 622 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, Block 103, Lot 48 in the Central Ward. The applicant is King Suites LLC. In the R4 zone, the applicant proposes the construction of a 5-story multifamily residential building with 79 units with a basement level garage. Applicant is seeking a D5 variance for insufficient lot area per dwelling. C variances for exceeding maximum lot coverage by building, exceeding maximum impervious lot coverage, insufficient front yard setback. Site plan approval is required.
The Board of Adjustment made the following findings of fact. Well, first of all, can everyone on this applicant's team please raise your hand so we can bring you in? Who's the counsel on this case, Ms. Mejia?
Ms. Warren.
Oh, Ms.
Here,
Moore,
it's
there's
Mark.
Ms. Moore.
Good
I see
evening.
you. Okay, bear with me 1 second. I'm toggling. The Board of Adjustment made the following findings of fact with respect to 616, 622 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. It's located in Newark's Lincoln Park neighborhood on the eastern side of Dr. MLK Boulevard between West Kinney and Court Streets. The total site area is approximately 19,167 square feet. The surrounding land uses consist of low-rise multifamily dwellings and a townhouse development. This is application ZBA 24-73, 616, 622 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Are there any objectors to this application? If so, please identify yourselves by using the raised hand feature. The raised hand feature can be found at the bottom of your computer screen if you're on a mobile device or mobile device. If you're on a telephone, you can press *9. I'd ask you to do so now. I see one raised hand. John Ellis. Mr. Ellis, can you turn on your camera and unmute yourself, please? Screen name John Ellis.
Can you see me? Good evening.
Hi. Can you state your name, sir?
Yes, John Ellis,
Mr.
ELL.
Ellis, are you an objector on this application?
Yes, I am.
Okay, let the record reflect there is one objector. Mr. Ellis, we're gonna proceed, council's gonna proceed prosecuting her application. You'll be permitted to ask questions when she's done of all her witnesses. At the end of her case, you'll be permitted to make a statement. Counsel, your appearance for the record, please.
And good evening, board and professionals. My name is Marcia Moore from the law firm of Post Pollock on behalf of the applicant King Suites LLC. As Madam Secretary and Chair has indicated, this is an application to construct a 5-story low-rise multifamily dwelling. The applicant is proposing 79 residential units, tenant amenity spaces, along with a ground floor parking garage. And the property is identified as Block 103, Lot 28, and also known as 616, 622 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. The property is located in the R4 zone where the use is permitted. Tonight, we are seeking a density use variance as well as preliminary and final site plan. There are a number of C variances that we're seeking. However, throughout this discussion tonight or presentation, we are eliminating 2 of those variances, and you'll hear our professionals testify. That's respect to the front yard setback and one of the illumination variances. This property has been vacant for quite some time. As a density variance, you'll hear the standard for density variance is whether or not the site can accommodate the use. And it's our intention to prove that the site can accommodate the use. Within this application, you also hear that 20% of these units proposed will be affordable, which will be address the city's continued need to provide affordable housing. I do have a number of witnesses tonight, but before I begin, I just wanted to address a couple of housekeeping because I am in receipt of a number of reports. The first report is from Department of Engineering dated April 24th, 2025. We can agree to comply with those conditions of approval. However, as I mentioned, we are seeking certain waivers referenced in the report, and that's respect to the tandem parking as well as some illumination. And our engineer will be discussing a request to remove some shade trees that we prefer not to remove it, rather meet with our arborists. Within that, I'm also in receipt of a traffic and parking assessment report that Mr. Trafficante also issued, which our traffic engineer will be addressing those comments. And I'm also in receipt of a planner's report dated April 28, 2025. And Mr. Hazel's asked us to elicit certain testimony with respect to the project itself, as well as some of the conditions of approval. And last but not least, I'm in receipt of a water and sewer memorandum. That memorandum is dated November 15, 2023. However, I do believe that is a typo. We received it on Monday. We have no objection. We can agree to those as conditions of approval.
Ms. Moore, just for the clarity of the record, as to the engineering report, you said there are certain conditions stated therein that you are either unwilling or unable to agree to. Can you tell me specifically which ones those are?
So respect to on page 3 on 5, under site plan, Roman numeral, paragraph 5, Roman numeral 3, we are asking for a waiver for the access drive.
Okay.
And
Anything else?
And then in respect to the comment regarding the arborists, we would,
Where is that?
That's under the site plan, Roman numeral 6
Okay.
and Roman numeral 7. The request to relocate the shade trees, we would like to meet with city arborists to determine whether or not we're able to relocate those. Again, we're not seeking any relief for shade trees. We do comply with our shade tree requirements, but we would like to have an opportunity to meet with the arborists.
What's the purpose of the meeting then?
To determine if we can relocate the shade trees.
Okay.
That was one of the comments indicated to meet with the arborist, so we would like to meet with the arborist.
If you can't relocate the trees, will they be removed? And if they're removed, will you then need a variance for the shade trees.
I think we can ask for that. I would like to have our engineer chair discuss that and show it on
Okay.
the site plan. It's more so of a site triangle issue, so that was just one of the comments. Other than that, we have no objections to any of the comments referenced in Mr.
So
Tropicante.
then, other than those stated concerns, I think there were 1, 2, 3 matters under the site plan. Your applicant agrees as a condition of approval to meet with all other conditions in the engineering report. Is that
That is
correct?
correct. Yeah,
And the same is correct. Your applicant agrees to meet with all conditions set forth in the memo from the Department of Water and Sewer, correct?
that is correct. There is one, again, the memorandum date is incorrect. There's a reference to a Newark Street. I believe they wanted MLK, but the conditions itself were acceptable.
Okay, good. Then we're ready to proceed, I believe.
Okay.
Your first witness?
So I'd like to call our civil engineer, Michaela McGuire.
Ms. McGuire, could you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Can you state your name, your address, and relationship to this application, please?
Yes, my name is Michaela McGuire, last name spelled Maguire. I'm a project manager at Stonefield Engineering and Design, located at 92 Park Ave in Rutherford, New Jersey.
Ms. McGuire, is this your first time appearing before this board?
It is not. I've been here 2 times before, I believe.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't recognize you.
It's okay.
And when you were before the zoning board in the past, you were accepted as an expert in the field of
I was,
engineering?
yes.
And
Yes.
your engineering license in the state of New Jersey remains in full force and effect?
Yes, it is in good standing.
We will accept Ms. McGuire as an expert in the field of engineering. Counsel?
And Ms. McGuire, you're familiar with the plans, correct?
Yes, I am.
Right. If you can share your screen and discuss the site, the existing site conditions, and then walk us through the civil plans.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yep. If you can make it bigger, that would help me
Bigger.
see it better, though.
So I'm going to start with the cover sheet C1 on our preliminary and final major site plan set. This was included in part of the submission, and it's dated October 1st, 2024. And I'm going to zoom in here to the tax and zoning map and the aerial map. So the site itself, as mentioned, is located at 616 to 622 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. It's also known as Block 103, Lot 48. The lot area is 19,167 square feet or 0.44 acres, and it's located within the residential low-rise multifamily zone, or the R4 zone, which is shown in yellow on the zoning map. All the properties to the north, east, and south are located within the same zone and are also multifamily residential structures. The property to the west or across MLK is located within the R3 zone and is also a multifamily residential building. As you move further away from this block to the north, east, and south again, all the properties are located in the Living Downtown Redevelopment Plan that's shown in gray on the zoning map. And then if you move to the west across MLK, to the northwest shown in blue is the MX2 zone. And then to the southwest in pink is the C2 zone. So a mixture of zones in this surrounding area. The site has one frontage, again, along MLK. It's 109 feet. MLK is a two-way road, and there is parking on both sides of the road currently. The existing site is currently vacant. There's a lot of overgrown vegetation as you move to the rear of the site, but there's no structures, pavement, or any impervious coverage on site today. There's also no stormwater infrastructure on site, and the site is not located within a flood zone. The lot geometry is mostly rectangular. However, there is a cutout here in the northeast corner of the property. Regarding the topography, the site does slope fairly significantly down away from Martin Luther King Boulevard or to the east. So MLK is really the high side of this site. And as you move away from it, the site drops about 20 feet in elevation. I'm going to move to the site plan basement sheet, or sheet C5, again in the preliminary and final major site plan. And I'm going to zoom in here a bit to the site plan. So the applicant is proposing a 5-story multifamily residential building, inclusive of 79 residential units and an underground parking structure. The use is permitted within this R4 zone. The building height is 59.25 feet and 5 stories tall. This is compliant with the height requirement, and it's calculated based off of the average grade around the building, which we calculated at 88.75 feet. The lot area and the lot width are also compliant within this application. The building currently is proposed setback 6.8 feet from the front property line. Based off of the review letters, the prevailing setback or maximum setback would be 6 feet along this frontage, which we do agree to comply with as a condition of approval. Regarding the side yard setback, 0 feet is the minimum required, which we are compliant with. Along the north and south side of the building, we are proposing a 5-foot setback in most of the areas. However, there is an area along the north side at the cutout that we are proposing a 0-foot setback. I do want to note there are no structures along the northern property line where we have that 0-foot setback. As you continue back to the rear of the site, we are required a 30-foot rear yard setback, which we are compliant with. Most of this rear yard will be kept as open space and be landscaped, which I'll get to with the landscaping. The building coverage required is 70% for this application. We are proposing 59.2%, so we're about 10% under the requirement with 11,395 square foot building footprint proposed. We are compliant with the building coverage. However, we are seeking relief for the impervious coverage. This is really because with this underground parking structure, some of the ramp and parking areas are outside of the building footprint. We are seeking relief as well for the density on site. 375 square feet per dwelling unit is required, and we are proposing 243 square feet per dwelling unit. Access to the parking area is provided via full movement driveway on MLK Boulevard to the north side of the road. We are proposing a 20-foot wide driveway, and that enters into a about 90-foot ramp that goes down to the parking level. As I mentioned, the site slopes down as you move away from MLK. So this parking level, if you're along the sidewalk, is about 1 story underground. But then as you move back to the rear of the site, this parking area is about level with the grades on site. As mentioned, the driveway is proposed at 20 feet wide. However, some of the drive aisles within the parking area are proposed a little bit larger at 22 feet or 21 feet. This was previously mentioned, but we are seeking relief for this requirement. We do believe that this gives vehicles extra room to maneuver in and out of these parking spaces. Within this parking area, we are proposing a total of 31 parking spaces. That includes 5 tandem spaces. However, based off of the city's code, we cannot count tandem spaces as 2 spaces. Otherwise, we would have 36. So currently we're proposing 31 spaces. That's inclusive of 6 EV make-ready spaces to comply with the New Jersey state requirements, as well as 2 ADA spaces that are adjacent to the elevator. I do want to note that one of the requirements within the planning review letter was adding a warning mechanism to alert pedestrians to vehicles exiting the garage as they are walking along MLK, which the applicant does agree to comply with. 2 other things I want to note from the engineering review letter is regarding the parking space sizes. We are currently proposing parking spaces adjacent to a wall at 8.5 feet wide. The city requirement is 9 feet. We do agree to revise the parking spaces adjacent to a wall to meet that requirement and eliminate that relief. Additionally, the length of the parking spaces that we're proposing inside on the tandem areas, so the 5 spaces, are proposed at 17 feet long. The minimum per city requirement is 18 feet, which again, we agree to revise and comply with and no longer seek relief for that. In addition, we are required to propose micro-mobility parking within this area. The requirement for this site is 20, and we are proposing a total of 40. Regarding the frontage, we are proposing all new sidewalks and curb in compliance with the city standards. Everything will be designed to be ADA compliant as well. Regarding stormwater on site, we are a major development per the city standards, as we're disturbing over 10,000 square feet of land. We're proposing 2 different stormwater systems in order to meet the city's requirements of a major development. The first one I'll talk about is the underground detention basin that is under the driveway down to the parking area. This system is collecting all of the roof runoff, as well as we have inlets within the parking facility that discharges into this underground detention basin that slowly releases the water into the combined sewer main within MLK. That is a 30-inch by 45-inch brick sewer. The second system we have is an infiltration basin that's in the rear of the site within this 30-foot rear yard. The reason we're proposing 2 different structures here is because the elevation change. The rear of the site is much lower than MLK. So in order to make sure we're collecting all the runoff on site, we are proposing an infiltration basin in the rear. This is collecting any of the site features that aren't part of this building or parking area that's being sent to the detention basin. Regarding the utilities, all of the utilities are proposed to connect into the infrastructure within MLK Boulevard. We did receive the water and sewer report and do agree to work with the city to comply with the comments. Specifically, we will separate any of the proposed laterals to meet the city standard, which was noted as 10 feet. We do agree to extend the high pressure water main that the city requested, and we do agree to submit for a flow test to confirm the low pressure line and determine if that needs to be replaced. We are proposing a series of wall-mounted fixtures and canopy fixtures around this site and within the parking area. We are seeking relief for some of the lighting levels. The first one I'll touch on is the maximum illumination in a pedestrian walkway. The maximum per the city standard is 2.5. We are proposing 5.3. That is located along the frontage of MLK. The reason for that is to meet the minimum requirement for the frontage in order to be designed safely for a pedestrian here. This 5.3 is close to an entrance where the range does go up to 5-foot candles, which we are relatively close to. The second item is within a surface parking area. The maximum foot candles is 5. We are proposing 6. And again, that's in order to meet that minimum within this parking area to make sure everything is safely lit. The third one, which we do agree to revise and no longer seek relief for, is the residential maximum along a residential property line. The max is 0.5 foot candles. We are proposing 0.9 right now, but as noted, we will revise the illumination in that area to no longer seek a variance for that. We're proposing a total of 9 trees as part of this development, 4 of them being the street trees that were mentioned previously. We are meeting right now the street tree requirement based off the frontage of the property with 4 trees. There was a comment in the engineering review letter about modifying the site triangle, which will likely impact the location of these trees. We would like to meet with the city arborist to confirm a street tree that would not impact a site, a driver's sight eye. So to make sure the trunk of the tree would not impact a vehicle leaving the site in order to still meet the city's street tree requirement. In addition to that, we are proposing 5 on-site trees, which does meet, again, the city requirement based off of our frontage. Those 5 street trees are proposed in the rear yard that was mentioned previously.
Michaela, before you, can you just, again, the chair had a comment regarding those shade trees. I just want to make sure. The intent is to meet with the arborist to determine if it has to be relocated, not necessarily remove. Can you just clarify on that?
Correct. We would like to meet with the arborist to confirm a specific tree species that the trunk won't grow greater than a certain diameter in order to impact a driver's sight eye leaving the site. So typically that's around 6 inches to 12 inches for a vehicle that's leaving in order to be able to keep those 4 street trees along the frontage.
Council, have you requested a variance for trees here?
No, we have not requested a variance. We're complying with the shade tree requirement at this time.
And you're not asking for one now, is that correct?
Based on our testimony by our engineer, we don't believe it would be necessary because the intent again is not to remove it. It's possible
Right.
relocation, but it still will be consistent, comply with the requirements.
Right, so I guess what I want to hear you say, you didn't ask for a variance?
And we don't
for
need
the
it.
trees, you didn't notice for a variance for the trees, and you're not asking for one now.
That is correct.
Thank you, counsel.
To sum up, we did review the engineering review letter dated April 24th, 2025, as well as the water and sewer letter. We do agree to work with the city professionals to comply with any of the comments.
And Ms. McGuire has indicated, respect to the remainder of the report, we can comply with the condition of approval, include any comments from Mr. Shaffrey. Is that correct?
Correct.
Right, thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you. I'm just gonna ask Mr. Traficante. I'm sure based on Mr. Traficante, I'm assuming you have questions? No?
No, at this time, no.
I'm sorry, was that a no?
Yes, sir, no.
Wow.
Yes, it was a no.
Oh, well, then you can sit back down. Thank you.
All right. Will do.
Are there any questions from the board for the engineer? Questions from the board for the engineer? Ms. McGuire, this parking will be underneath on the ground floor, is that correct?
If you're looking from Martin Luther King, it will be about 10 feet below grade from this sidewalk. However, as you move to the rear, the elevation, the parking is close to being at grade. We have about a 3-foot wall along this property limit here.
And I'm sorry for taking down your plans. Could you put the plan of the parking area up again?
Yes, of course.
And I wonder if you can talk about first make that larger, and I wonder if you could talk about where and how cars will be entering the site and
Yes,
exiting the site. Yep.
Yeah, so all vehicles will be entering and exiting via this full movement driveway. That's again to the north side of Martin Luther King Boulevard. It's a 20-foot aisle, and as you enter here, there's about a 90 to 100-foot ramp that takes you down about 10 feet from the grade in the road into the parking facility. From there, vehicles will maneuver within the drive aisles to get to whichever parking space, and then the same vehicles will be exiting with this same ramp out the same driveway onto MLK.
Are there any restrictions on entering or exiting the parking area?
We will be providing, that was one of the comments in the engineering letter, a stop sign and a stop bar for vehicles that are entering the driveway onto MLK. And then again, a comment from the planner letter was to provide some sort of mechanism to alert pedestrians for safety, which we agreed to comply with as well.
And by a stop, tell me what a stop bar is.
A stop bar is painted on the ground as you're exiting the driveway, and then a stop sign would be probably mounted on the wall.
Right, will there be some mechanical arm that will stop cars, that will force cars to stop?
I don't believe so. I think the architect could probably talk to it.
Do you think that having that would increase safety to pedestrians or other walking past?
I think the architect could probably talk more to the garage door and how that would be operated for vehicles entering and exiting. I believe that would provide the safety that you're looking for vehicles exiting.
Okay. What about turns into and out of the parking area? Any restriction there?
No current restriction, no.
Do you think that current restrictions would add safety to pedestrians walking on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard?
Again, Chair,
Yes.
The answer is that we also have a traffic engineer that can address a couple of those comments as well. So again, Miss.
And Ms. Moore, if I forget, please remember to ask this same question to the traffic engineer. Thank you
Yes.
for that. How about the engineer? Do you have an opinion as to this?
So I apologize. I thought you were originally talking about this location for vehicles exiting onto this ramp and exiting into here. I originally said no because there isn't a T intersection or a 4 intersection that would require any stop mechanism. But for a vehicle exiting the site, I do think having some sort of garage door would be beneficial.
Okay, and what about turning out or turning into the site? From the boulevard?
So we did provide site triangles to show that there is a clear line of sight for vehicles exiting. I don't anticipate
Are
it.
you familiar with the site?
I am, yes.
Is the boulevard a two-way street at this point?
I believe so, yes.
So do you think it would add to safety if cars were prohibited from crossing traffic? I guess that would be to north traffic. I'm not great with the compass. And to get to the southbound, no, would it be the southbound lane to get to the northbound lane, I think?
I think that'd be a better question for our traffic engineer.
Okay. Are there any questions from the board for the engineer? Additional questions from the board for the engineer? Are there questions from the objector for the engineer? Mr. Ellis, you want to just state your name, give us your address and your question, please?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is John Ellis. Did you need to know something else about me before I proceed?
No, just your
Okay.
question, sir.
Yeah. So I have a question for Ms. McGuire. And if it should go to the traffic person, let me know. Concerning this property, it's one of the heaviest. I've been here 12 years living on this location. It's extremely heavy at certain hours of the day. The report does state that, I understand. There are no other buildings on this block that have this situation where you have to get out of a driveway to get onto the main street. And this particular location, there's a food pantry that's very, very vital to our neighborhood, where people will frequently double park, and even 40-foot trucks will double park for as much as an hour while they unload pallets of food and other things for the community. At some point, I'd like someone to be able to speak to that, please, because I think that's not considered here. The people who come, they come with walkers. They'll
You have
come
a
with small.
question, Mr. Ellis.
Yes, if someone would please address the fact that we have a population that has a lot of congestion at this particular block because of the food pantry.
Again, Ms. McGuire's testimony is as a civil engineer. I do have a number of witnesses tonight, including our traffic engineer. So I believe that question would be addressed by our traffic engineer in our future presentation.
Okay. I did have one other question. Is there some reason on the first page of the presentation, I think where it says Newark property owners within 200 blocks, within 200 feet, it seems to list addresses that I don't understand the relevance to this particular site. They seem to be some other part of town. Is that some error?
You
No,
want to put that page back up, please?
On the lower left-hand side, it says Newark 200 feet property owner list of page, I guess it's page 1.
Yes, I could pull it up.
I just don't see anyone I recognize there. And it's a minor detail, but
Well, that's a due process detail.
Yeah.
Could you make that as large as possible, please? Well, and forgive me, I don't mean detail. It's due process matter that's more than a detail. It goes to jurisdiction.
Well, I can address that respect to any notice that may have been provided.
This is Marcia Moore speaking.
This is Ms. Moore speaking. My office handles the notice, and that we provided affidavit service with a certified list of property owners from the tax assessor that has been reviewed by the secretary. So any notice would have been provided in the affidavit service that I provided, not on any cover sheet.
I lost that. Can we bring that back up, please?
Yes, I believe there may be a typo on currently what's shown, but again, we did not send out the notices, so we can certainly correct this.
Do you see that, Mr. Ellis?
Yeah, I do. The reason I asked that question is when I reached out to my neighbors in advance of this, they were not aware of the presentation tonight. And I just wondered if there was any connection between what appears on the first page. I received a letter from Miss Moore's office. I've been in touch with her, but my surrounding neighbors were not aware.
Right, and could you make this even larger, Ms. McGuire, please?
I can represent those who are not the property owners that were notified. My office always relies on an updated list. The most recent list that was provided to the board and mailed out an affidavit on April 24th. The notice was certified. The list was updated as of March 28th, 2025, consisting of 15 properties. And that was signed by the tax assessor. My office relies on all notices independently. We do not rely on the site plan.
And you did receive a letter, is that correct, Mr. Ellis?
Indeed, yes, I did.
All right, did any of your neighbors who claim to not have received notice?
I've reached out to two of them, and neither, and their institutions, by the way, neither their property manager nor their director received anything in the mail at those organizations.
Neither of those two were property owners, though?
They are organizations who own the property, who own each property. Yes, sir.
Okay, Commissioner Comisarios.
Was there a sign placed on the property?
Yes.
Indeed.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that was there.
Okay. Mr. Ellis, are any of those persons here tonight?
I'm not very tech savvy. I don't know how to see if there are other people in the meeting. I just see 5 people at the top of my screen. If there's some other.
Again, I would ask if there is anyone here with an interest in the property located at 616-622 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard to please raise your hand. Do you have any other questions for the engineer, Mr. Ellis?
No, I don't.
I just note that Ms. Moore has filed a certification with our office saying that she relied on and in fact did provide notice to the persons who our city advised her required to get notice here. And I certainly am not going to, I certainly have no reason to raise any further question to council's certification unless and until there's someone else here who can claim that they should have and did not receive. And then we can investigate that, but I see no reason to deal with this any further unless and until that happens. Are there any other questions for the engineer? Council?
So at this time, I'd like to call our architect, Murat Mutlow.
Mr. Mutlow, can you turn your camera on and unmute yourself, please? Mr. Mutlow, could you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Please state your name, give us your address and relationship to this application, please.
My name is Murat Mutlu. I'm with Innova Architecture. We're the project architects. Office address 330 West 38, Suite 1704, New York, New York.
Thank you. Mr. Mutlow, have you ever appeared before this board before?
Yes, I have.
Were you accepted by the zoning board as an expert in the field of architecture?
Yes, I have. Yes, the board has.
And is your architectural license in the state of New Jersey currently in full force and effect?
Yes, it is.
We'll accept Mr. Mutlow as an expert in the field of architecture. Council?
Thank you, Thank you, Chair. Mr. Mutlow. Mr. Mutlow, if you can share your screen and walk us through the architectural features of this project.
Sure. You can see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
So before I begin, I know, Mr. Mutlow, you have a architectural presentation, which is a combination of what was submitted, some colored versions and rendering. If I can have this marked as A1 with the number of sheets, and that's
How
how
many
many
sheets?
pages, Mr. Mutlow?
This is 22 sheets, slides, 22 slides.
And council, will you provide a copy of this to our
Yes,
secretary as
certainly.
soon as possible?
Yes.
Thank you. A1, 22 slides from architecture, dated
Yes.
5/1/2025. Council.
Mr. Mutlow, you can continue.
Right. Good evening again. As mentioned before, the project is on Martin Luther King Boulevard. We have about 100 feet frontage, and the property is about 200 feet deep. The topography is varying from front to back. There's a drastic elevation change, which we're utilizing with a basement that is not visible from the street level. We are in near downtown. There is a vacant land next to us and an apartment building to the right of us. There is a nearby 5-story building that sort of contextually or size-wise close to this project as well. As shown in the tax map, the 100 feet frontage on the short end of the property and the 200 feet depth. This sort of explains the topography and the programmatic distribution. Martin Luther King Boulevard is on the right. The basement parking level is below grade, as seen from Martin Luther King Boulevard. The lobby and amenity level is at the street level, facing the street. So we have no apartments facing the street. We do have apartments in the back of the first floor after you pass the lobby, which are elevated from the topography, so they are away from the street. And then we have 4 levels of apartments on top, with a total of 79 units and 36 parking spaces. So, as I believe you've seen the floor plan on the civil engineering set. So, just a colored version of what is provided at this cellar level. Parking surfaces are highlighted in this blue color. We do have some utility areas, and this ramp is coming down from the first floor level. So from Martin Luther King Boulevard, you can make a right turn into the garage ramp, and then the ramp takes you down to the basement level. It sort of goes under that balcony terrace area and under the building. And then you can come out and make a right turn on Martin Luther King Boulevard. So the amenity, as you enter the building, there'll be amenity on the right, and then lobby space to the left and in the center of the building. And then we have apartments, double-loaded corridor, single elevator, 2 staircases. So we try to match the massing to with the zoning bulk requirements. It's 5-story and less than 60 feet height requirement. And then we do have more units than permitted, but I believe we've sized the units in a way that is acceptable in sort of in general terms from a marketing perspective, or some of our past projects that's been approved by this board. So we have apartments, like studio apartments, in sort of about average 411 square feet, and the 1-beds are averaging at 600 square feet, but our smallest 1-bedroom is 507. Our biggest 1-bedroom is 710 square feet. So there's a variety of different sizes, but average is 600 square feet for the 1-bedroom units. And then our 2 bedrooms are ranging from 800 square feet to 907 square feet. So just to give you a concept of what we're doing, sort of a conventional project would have these sort of small puncture windows, whereas we're proposing this expanded glazing to create this sort of spacious apartments, daily apartments and sort of make them attractive, livable. So we're working within the approved zoning massing, but despite having more units, we're creating the spacious and attractive units. As this concept is represented on the outside as well, we have large fenestration available for each bedroom and living spaces. And then we do have alternating balconies, outdoor spaces created for the residents as well. This rendering shows the garage entrance going down, lobby and amenity space at the ground level. As you turn around the building, the ramp going down to the basement level, sort of a side view going a shot from the that vacant land towards our project. And then this is the back view of our property. The property is irregular. It is, so we had to sort of have multiple setbacks from different lot lines. And these are the drawings that's been submitted to the board, elevations showing the windows. The facade is EFIS finish and then aluminum framed fenestration. So sort of a minimal color palette, but with larger fenestration is what is on the exterior of the building. That is end of my presentation. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Council?
I do have a couple of comments. Some of them, the engineer mentioned that one of the comments Mr. Hazel has is to provide that audible device. We are one to do that. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
And then these apartments, as units would have in washer and dryers independently?
Yes, all units have a stackable washer and dryer unit.
Okay. I have no further questions at this time.
Thank you. Are there questions from the board for the architect? Questions for the architect from the board?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Cobian?
can you please repeat the one bedroom? You said the smallest unit is what, 500?
Smallest one bedroom unit is 507 square feet, but we only have a few of them. And the largest is 710.
How many of those do you have at 500 square feet?
Not more than 5. It's less, maybe 3 of them.
That's a little small, but okay, thank you.
Further questions from the board for the architect? Further questions from the board for the architect? Ms. Matula, is there going to be a garage door?
There is a garage door, yes. Roll-up garage door.
And that will roll down after every car enters or leaves the garage, is that correct?
That is the intention. It's a residential garage. We don't anticipate like a commercial activity. And so it'll be closed down when there's no activity.
Okay. And you noted that cars would be making right turns into the garage and right turns out of the garage. That was your testimony, right?
That is my testimony, yes. But if from the other lane, what could happen to the traffic, I would leave that to the traffic engineer.
Well, let me ask you a design question. Can you help me with a design question?
Sure, yeah.
Is there anything you can design that would prevent left-hand turns into or out of the garage across the traffic? Because it seems to me that could be dangerous. Would you agree?
Sure, I think it's the only way to prevent people from an illegal turn would be putting a traffic island. Otherwise, if somebody wants to make a left turn, even if it's a double line, they will make a left turn.
A traffic island, you said?
Right, like it would be an island in the middle of the road with, I'm not a traffic engineer, but as an architect or someone who knows cities, I think that's a solution that urban planners or traffic engineers can come up with.
Mm-hmm. Is there some kind of curb that could be put that could also prevent turns, left-hand turns out of the
curb on our side, so sort of a curb,
yeah,
sort of a curved curb that would prevent them to make a left turn?
yeah.
If there's enough frontage, it's a little tight, 20 feet is tight to do that, but we can certainly entertain that without traffic and civil engineers.
So I wonder, as a condition of approval, council, if you would agree to discuss the possibility of putting in that type of curb with the city traffic engineer.
Chair, yes, we would discuss that, and we've been having conversations where it can also be amenable and having a no left turn out of the garage as well.
Are you talking about a sign?
Yes, correct. And as well as discussion with the city's traffic engineer respect to that condition of approval.
Okay. Thank you. Another question, maybe you can help me with this, Fatula. You noted that in your testimony that you were that this project was over the permitted units. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
And let me say, I have to say it's refreshing, different. Different is refreshing. It's refreshing to see this different design. It's not a design that it's. I guess it would be modern. I'm not very up on architecture, but it's not what we've been seeing coming to us often. So thanks for that. It's refreshingly different. So how many apartments are you over here?
I believe 5179, we're 28 units over.
You're 28 apartments over.
Plus, well, there's a 15% bonus from the affordable housing. So we're 20, because we have affordable housing in the project with 20%, there's also in the zoning an allowance of 15% bonus for projects with affordable housing. So that 51 would become like 58, 59 units permitted.
So let's assume it's 59. Why quibble over that one at 58?
Okay.
Let's say it's 59. That means you're 20 apartments over.
Correct. We are.
So let me ask you another question. Educate me. What's the purpose of having density restrictions? What's the idea behind limiting density?
I mean, there are different parameters. Every city has different goals and achievements. Let's say if it's a school district that's heavy with kids and the district does not want more sort of families to come, they limit the number of apartments that's going to be built there. So it could be a school district policy. It could be infrastructural limitations where the street may not have enough infrastructure to handle additional sewer capacity or even a fire capacity. So I think given that we're providing sort of studio and one-bedroom units heavily, I don't think we'll have any impact to school districts. And from a utility perspective, we're upgrading. Mr. AJ at the Water Sewer Department has been enforcing us upgrade sort of in Newark infrastructure in almost every project we've been involved in. So I don't think there's a problem from a utility perspective.
Thanks for that. It doesn't really answer my question, but I guess overtaxing the infrastructure you mentioned, including schools, I guess also it's not a good thing to put too many people in too little of a space. Is that fair to say?
Sure, but I think our proposition is that we're creating attractive spaces and we're within the envelope given to us. So without creating a massive building, we're able to sort of provide more housing, more affordable units than.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. I think, however, that I'm concerned about having 20 units over what's permitted. That seems far too much to me. You understand my concern, don't you?
I do.
I know you may not agree with it, but you do understand my concern, right?
I do. I've been in front of this board and had these conversations with you in the past, yes.
Oh, I guess it didn't show. It didn't show. Anyway, but maybe we can help you with that. Are there any other questions for the architect from the board? Additional questions for the architecture from the board? I see none.
Chair.
It sounded like Mr. Comesañas. I don't see, there you are. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Comesañas, yes.
Is there a rooftop space here? I didn't see it.
We didn't, there isn't at this time.
There isn't at this time. Okay. All right, that might change though, right?
It would
Access to the roof?
It would require another variance if you propose it.
Not if it's less than 20% of the roof.
No, the problem is that the zoning allows only 10 feet bulkhead enclosure. If we provide an accessible roof, we would need 15 feet bulkhead. So that would be another variance. So which we wanted to avoid.
Last week's application managed to do it with 10 feet.
It's not realistic, sir. It would be an elevator going to roof level would need minimum sort of 15 feet bulkhead. Unless they don't have elevator access, which would be also not code compliant.
Understood, thank you.
Commissioner Hall.
Yes, is there, by reducing the number of units, would that lower the density?
Yeah, less units would mean less density.
And I guess I don't want to be redundant, but 20 units over seems like a lot to me.
But I think our proposal is that we're fitting the units that we have in the given envelope without asking for a height variance. And we're in the setbacks that is permitted, sort of 5 feet on each side. Front yard setback will also comply, and the rear yard setback also complies. So I think that was our proposal. By building a basement, we're spending extra, like our client is spending extra on the garage construction underground, and which is giving us the floor area to build or to fit in comfortable units, maybe more than.
Thank you.
Chair.
Mr. Chair, would this be an appropriate time to ask if the client would consider eliminating some of the units?
It's always an appropriate time, and I'd wonder if I see there's 17 units on a floor. I wonder if if the applicant would consider knocking off a floor. That would reduce this by 17 units, which would still be, not meet our density requirements, but would be generous, I think. So I'll leave that with council. Council, you may need time for that. So that question is out there. Let's get back to that if that's okay with you, council. Are there any further questions for this, for the architect? Further questions from the board for the architect? I see none. Questions from the objector, Mr. Ellis.
Hi, sir.
And Mr. Ellis, I think I forgot, although you mentioned it, I should have asked, can you just state your address for the record, please?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
608 Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard.
Thank you.
So this is I believe it's 2 lots further down, lot 55. Okay. One of the questions I have for Architect Mutlu is he aware that there are 6 schools and the JFK Recreation Center within 4 blocks of his project? And I say this in regard to the type of occupants he might have, as well as the traffic considerations, which we might talk about with the engineer. Architect Mutlu?
If I can just, I'm sorry, my video's not on.
Are you not going to let him answer that? Council, did we lose you?
It was a little slow this afternoon. Again, we have provided a traffic impact study, so I would like to have our traffic engineer address any traffic impact that we provided to the board.
And I agree with you. This didn't have much to do with traffic. This had
No.
something to do with what he testified to.
Right,
Can
it's
you
it's
answer
not
that
it's not
question?
just traffic. It's
Mr.
about
Ellis? Mr. Ellis?
yes, sir.
Let me finish.
Sure.
Mr. Mutlu, could you answer Mr. Ellis's question, please?
No, I was not aware that they were for schools or school district.
Do you have other questions, Mr. Ellis?
I do. Thank you for asking. The other question I have is the no, that'd be fine. Thank you very much.
Okay. Commissioner Gomez-Sanchez.
Question, Chairman. The building is pretty dense. I'm not sure if it would be appropriate, maybe not knocking off a floor, but merging some units. I mean, Mr. Mutlow brings some really pretty designs. I think so. It's exciting when I see him on the agenda. I don't know if there's a mechanism where maybe we don't knock off a floor, but combine studios or one bedrooms in a studio to help reduce that unit count. Maybe keep the integrity of your design, but still diminish the number of overage that's there. If the board's okay with that as an alternative to knocking off a floor.
Yeah, the floor went to the count, so. Council, you want to take
If we can, and
a
I
moment
just
now, or
before.
you're gonna move the next to the next?
Before I move to my next witness, I do want to just mention, and thank you, I want an opportunity to speak with the client, that Commissioner Komasano is correct. We're not seeking relief as far as the height. We understand the board has questions regarding the density, but I do want an opportunity to speak with the client as well as Mr. Rott. Suggestion possibly having those one-bedroom apartments into studios. I know there is concern by Commissioner Cobian as respect to some of the one-bedroom units, so I do want an opportunity. But again, we're not seeking relief respect to that, to the height of the building. So to the extent that, again, Mr. Rott's design to protect it, you said, is in the integrity, I do have an opportunity to speak with my team to see what we can do with respect to the number of units.
Yeah, just to keep the record clear, I wasn't suggesting there was a problem with the height. I'm questioning, along with Commissioner Hall, the density, and noted that each floor has, except for the first floor, has 17 units. And which bring us to 79, and the total number required is permitted is, I think, 51. So my problem again isn't the height, it's the excess, it's the excess density. So council, 10 minutes.
That's fine. This should be plenty. Thank you.
So it's 7:28. We'll be back at 7:38.
That is fine. Thank you.
Help if I unmute myself. It's 7:39. If we could turn our cameras on, come back on. Ask all the board members to come back on, turn your cameras on. Board staff. Okay,
Recording in progress.
great. We're back on the record. Um, with ZBA 24-73, 616, 622, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Council, where were we?
And Marcia Moore for the record. Again, thank you. So I had an opportunity to discuss the comment or the condition from both Chair Fon as well as the comments and concerns by Commissioner Kobian and Comisanas. We've discussed and addressed a couple of concerns, increasing the unit sizes by making some of the rooms larger, as well as addressing some type or providing some type of open space. So the applicant has agreed as condition of approval to reduce the number of units to 69 by maintaining the height of the building, as well as providing an open space on the above the garage. I believe that may address some of the concerns that Commissioner Comisanas has, as well as Commissioner Kobian, as far as increasing those unit sizes, in particular the sizes that are about 500 square feet or so. And I do have Mr. Murad can discuss those architectural changes.
Okay, let's, I think Mr. Marat was the last witness, so let's call Mr. Marat back. Mr. Marat, you're
I'm here.
still under oath, so.
Yes.
So,
you
Mr.
go-
Murad,
Counsel?
and just for the record, you're still under oath. So we've had an opportunity to discuss the addressing a couple of the comments in respect to the unit sizes, as well as the availability or whether or not you have the ability to provide some green space per Commissioner Comisanas' comments. Let me just walk us through what the applicant is proposing by reducing the number of units, by reducing the density as part of this project.
Yeah, we discussed just earlier, it was a short conversation that will reduce the density by 10 units from 79 to 69. That will be about 2 units per floor. We'll have the final configuration and resubmit it, but it'll be about 2 units per floor revision. And there is a terrace that was private to one of the apartments over the garage that we can make that as sort of a common outdoor terrace space for all the building residents as well.
And again, and that's with maintaining the height of the building and wouldn't sacrifice or have any ability on your design of your building. Is that correct?
Correct. We'll still have the as of right 5-story building massing. And this will allow us to have larger units.
Counsel, anything further?
Not at this time.
Well, thank you for that. I was hoping for 3 units per floor, but Counsel, your next witness?
At this time, I would like to
Hope
call.
springs eternal though, right, Counsel?
Oh, exactly. Again, the applicant is, is willing to believe in the design, and it still allows us to provide some affordable housing, which our planner will address in his testimony. But at this time, I'd like to bring our traffic engineer, Mr. Vicio.
Mr. Vicio, raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony about to provide be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name, give us your address and relationship to this application, please.
Andrew Vischio, V as in Victor, Ischio. I'm employed by Stonefield Engineering and Design. I am the applicant's traffic engineer.
Ms. Vischio, have you appeared before this board in the past?
I have had the opportunity on a few occasions.
And you've been accepted as an expert in the field of traffic engineering, isn't that correct?
That is correct.
And is your engineering license in full force and effect in the state of New Jersey at the current time?
Yes, it is.
We'll accept Mr. Vischio as an expert in the field of traffic engineering. Counsel?
Mr. Vizio, your firm had the opportunity to prepare a traffic impact study, and I just want to mark that for the record. That was dated October 1st, 2024. Can you discuss your report first by just stating your methodology?
Absolutely. So at the outset of any project, what we do is take an inventory of the surrounding roadway infrastructure. The site has frontage along the easterly side of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard between Court Street and West Kinney Street. Martin Luther King Boulevard is a local street that provides one lane in each direction. I know there was a question about that previously. On-street parking is allowed at all times with the exception of midday street cleaning on Monday on one side of the street and Tuesday on the other side of the street. The site isn't immediately adjacent to rail public transportation, but bus transportation is relatively convenient, and especially bus transportation to Penn Station is extremely convenient. There's a bus stop less than 300 feet away from the site where you can catch NJ Transit Bus Route 5, which will take you to Penn Station in 8 minutes. Several more bus routes are available along Washington Street, which is about a 5-minute walk from the site. For example, NJ Transit Bus Route 70 is available at the intersection of Washington Street and West Kinney, which will also take you to Penn Station if you happen to miss the 5. As previously testified to by my colleague, the proposed site consists of multifamily residential dwellings. The proposed unit count, my understanding, is 69. At this point in time, please correct me if I'm wrong, counsel. That would be supported by 36 physical parking spaces, so about a 0.5 ratio of parking spaces per unit. Those spaces would be accessed via a single driveway along MLK Boulevard, which we've agreed to restrict to right in, right out. Based on my engineering experience, I think an island that would physically restrict movements to right in, right out would be challenging in this environment, given the driveway width. However, the applicant certainly takes no exception to striping and signage to enforce those turning maneuvers. To give you a scale of the traffic generation of the development, we anticipate that one car would leave the site every 3 to 4 minutes during the busiest peak hour. That's far below the threshold that the Institute of Transportation Engineers identifies as being significant, and the review letter prepared by Mr. Trafficante concurs that the development is not expected to change the level of service in the immediate area. Despite reducing the unit count to 69 units, we are still seeking a variance for deficient on-site parking. So we took a look at this issue from a few different perspectives. One is to try to get a sense of what we think the actual demand will be for parking for this development. So the Institute of Transportation Engineers for a mid-rise development in an urban environment like this anticipates approximately 0.46 parking spaces per bedroom. I apologize. With these last minute changes, I can't do those calculations off the top of my head, but that just helps give you a sense of what we think the demand will be. And as far as public transportation is concerned, 61% of residents living in this census tract, I apologize, 65% of residents living in this census tract use public transportation, walk, carpool, or ride bicycles to work. So we think that the parking demand will be significantly less than one per unit. It'll probably be closer to 40 vehicles or so. Even if those assumptions are incorrect and the parking demand is slightly higher than we're expecting, we also conducted on-street parking counts during the overnight period in the immediate vicinity of the site. I emphasize overnight period because that's when residential parking demand tends to peak. So if you just focus your attention to MLK Boulevard between West Kinney and Court Street, there's adequate room for 45 parked vehicles, taking into consideration all parking restrictions, prohibitions from crosswalks, hydrants, bus stops, ADA accessible spaces. Just that one block of MLK Boulevard between West Kinney and Court, there's room for 45 parked vehicles. Our overnight parking counts found a demand of 25 vehicles, leaving room for 20 more parked vehicles. So even if the residential parking demand is higher than the census data indicates, there's adequate on-street parking available to accommodate the anticipated demand. I guess the last thing that I want to leave you with is we've conducted, traffic and parking studies in many different locations throughout Newark. It's rare that on-street parking is readily available, particularly during the overnight period. I fully recognize that, but to drill down on that further and try to understand why that's the case here, I took a slightly zoomed out look at the neighborhood. And if you look to the west and to the east, there are residential developments, planned residential developments that have parking lots and driveways. This section of MLK Boulevard is not lined with row homes that don't have driveways where everyone is completely reliant on on-street parking. So I think that's important to note just to verify the fact that we did find available on-street parking with our parking counts. So in conclusion, we concur with the engineering department's report that the development would not have a significant impact on the operations of the adjacent roadway network. And we believe that the combination of parking being provided on-site and the availability of on-street parking in the immediate vicinity of the site is sufficient to support this project's demand. That concludes my direct testimony, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Council?
Nothing on to Mr. No questions.
Other questions for the traffic engineer from the board? Questions from the traffic engineer from the board? Mr. Vecchio, thank you for your opinion on the concrete island. Are there any other physical barriers that can be employed that would help to prohibit those left-hand turns into and out of the location, the site? Physical, not just, not a sign or a striping. Because I think you'd agree that some physical barrier would make it less likely or that people would make that left. Is that fair to say?
It's certainly fair to say that people are can be prone to disregard signs if that's their prerogative. On site, I think that if we were to include that channelizing island for the right in, right out driveway, the width of the driveway would become significantly wider. Um,
Yeah,
Potentially
you
and
made
very
that clear. You made that clear.
right.
And, council has already agreed to talk to the Department of Engineering about that, and
Right.
is there anything other than that? That's my question.
The only thing that I can think of is something that would be not located on our site, but in the middle of the street.
What are you referring to?
Something like a concrete island, so to speak, or a curb that you physically couldn't traverse. I'm speaking somewhat extemporaneously, but and that would certainly have to be vetted with the engineering department. But uh, I think that that would, physically prevent that turning movement.
And what about those poles, those plastic poles? That's something I've seen. Is that something that can be used that can help prevent those turns?
Yep, those poles are commonly referred to as flexible delineators. Um, uh, you see them in white, you see them in yellow. In this case, if they were in the center line, they would be colored yellow. Um, uh, I'm not. Uh, I think that would prevent the turning movements. Um, I can't speak for the engineering department's policy on the use of those. Something that we would have to uh, uh, coordinate with them because I know that there is also a level of maintenance and upkeep with that some cities avoid those flexible delineators for that reason, both maintenance and aesthetics. So it would be difficult for me to sit here and say, yes, I agree specifically to flexible delineators, but I hope we've conveyed that we're, open to having the discussion further with the engineering department and coming up with a solution.
Yeah, council, just to amend my previous request, because I think my request was solely as to that traffic curb. Would you agree on behalf of your applicant to discuss with the engineering department all possible physical barriers that might help prevent that left-hand turn into or out of the site?
Certainly, yes. We
Thank
have no
you.
objection to that.
Thank you. Any other questions for the traffic engineer from the board? Questions for the traffic engineer from the board? Questions from the objector for the traffic engineer, Mr. Ellis?
Thank you, Chairman. Engineer Vicio, are you aware that across the street from your site is an existing triangle? I think it goes into an address called Eagle Parkway. Does that sound familiar to you?
I'm very familiar with that, yes.
So there's a triangle that's there. Have you ever observed how that functions at different times of the day?
I've seen people make left turns in and out of that. I also looked into the city's code, specifically section 23 chapter 23 section 3-2, which lists prohibited turning movements, and left turns in and out of there are not restricted according to the city's code. And I have not seen any signage there.
You're correct. There is no signage.
Okay.
The reason I'm asking that question, and I'd like to ask this question. I'm an architect, by the way, so I understand what the implication would be to widen that. The facade is quite burdensome, but I asked that question of you only because there's so much there's so much culture of a certain type of on that particular block of people getting to either the recreation center, which is 2 blocks behind MLK Boulevard, or getting to the 6 schools that are within 4 blocks of the area. And as I had mentioned earlier, perhaps you weren't here on the meeting, there's a food pantry. So people frequently in very compressed time, maybe within an hour, they know that the food is going to be handed out at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. And so they'll start double parking at least on the east side of MLK and sometimes even on the west side. And when it'll happen at the oddest times, when it might be very, very heavy traffic going to school, and yet people will double park to quickly get a box, or they might even bring their spouse and be in line for as much as an hour or two. So I'm sure the board is familiar with this, but I just wonder if you have taken that into account, because I think it's going to add a lot of stress if people are not people already do U-turns precisely for that reason, to get to the more convenient side to load their cars. And I just wonder if you could look at that a little more carefully, please.
Yeah, we will, and I think it's important that you brought that up for when we do have the conversations with the engineering department on the ways that we could go about restricting those movements. Because if there is persistent double parking, actually a physical barrier to driving over the double yellow or slightly into the wrong side of the lane, a physical barrier in the middle of the road might make that double parking even more um, burdensome than it is now.
Yeah, I asked if you observed it because it happens to be very dangerous. People get hit up near Court Street, and there's also lots of car accidents. People open their doors without looking; they're already double parked, and then they wind up getting their doors clipped precisely. And you have trucks that go around them in the opposite oncoming traffic because of the double parking. And I'm not casting any blame on any institution or anything. I'm simply saying there's a culture in the neighborhood and on that block in particular that I think really warrants some examination before someone gets seriously hurt.
Yeah, point well taken, and we'll definitely raise that in our discussions with the city.
And I do have one other question for you, sir. And if it's not for you, please tell me who it would be for. Given that you have far more, I think now it's 2-to-1, 2 occupants per parking space. Is that correct? Something of that sort?
Reverse.
Oh, 2 occupant. I thought you have something like 69 units and something like 35 spaces. Am I understanding?
Yes,
that right?
correct.
Okay, all right. Because of that, is there any stipulation in the leases that certain people will not own cars with a goal and that incentive to preventing them from adding cars to the street? And I say that because
Mr. Ellis, I don't
Yes.
know if Mr. Vishio would have that knowledge. Do you,
Correct, I understand.
do you have that knowledge, Mr. Vishio?
I as a former city traffic engineer, I could speak on this topic for about an hour, but I'm not going to because I don't want to.
About the leases, Mr. Vishio?
I don't. Yes, I don't want to. You know, take up too much time. So I'm just gonna say that without residential permit parking, something like that, my understanding is not possible.
Okay, thank you for mentioning the residential parking. I appreciate that.
Are there anything further for this witness, Mr. Ellis?
No, sir, thank you very much.
I saw screen name Brock Diamond. You're muted. Screen name Brock Diamond. Hello, screen name Brock Diamond. Do you have a question for the traffic engineer? Counsel?
So this time I'd like to call our planner, Thomas Ricci.
Mr. Ritchie, could you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Could you state your name, your address, and your relationship to this application, please?
Yeah, be happy to. Thomas Ricci, last name is spelled Ricci. I'm a project manager at Stonefield Engineering Design. Our headquarters is located at 92 Park Ave, Rutherford, New Jersey. I was hired as the applicant's professional planner.
And Ms. Ricci, have you appeared before the zoning board, this zoning board before?
I have.
And you were accepted as an expert in the field of planning, is that correct?
That is?
And is your planning license in full force and effect in the state of New Jersey?
Yes.
We'll accept Mr. Ricci as an expert in the field of planning. Counsel?
Mr. Ricci, before you begin your testimony with respect to the density relief that we're seeking and the ancillary C variances, can you just tell the board what documents, if any, you've had an opportunity to review in preparation for tonight's meeting, your testimony tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. I have reviewed the site plans and the architectural plans. I have reviewed the city's zoning ordinance and master plan, and I have also visited the project site on a couple of occasions, and I reviewed the board professionals' review letters.
Okay. And can you just give us an overview of this land use application? I know we've had several testimony, but for the justification on the density, just an overview.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. And in doing so, I just want to share a quick, a simple aerial exhibit that I prepared that I hope would go along with my presentation. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, and if we can have that marked as A2.
Was this presented?
No, this will be an exhibit, so have this marked as an exhibit as A2.
And you'll get a copy to us as soon as
Yes, I
possible?
will, marked as
Thank you,
well.
Counsel. A2, so marked.
That's they prepared on, and who prepared this aerial, Mr. Ricci?
Yeah, so for the record, this is dated May 1st, 2025. It was prepared by our office, Stonefield Engineering Design. It is a 5-sheet, we'll call it planning exhibit. It has some aerials and some site photos.
A2, 5 sheets. Thank you.
So you've heard the testimony. This is an application for multifamily building on this single tax lot that you see here in this magenta color. It's a property in the Central Ward in Newark, specifically the R4 residential zone. One of the things that we first noticed that was already previously testified to is the site you can see is vacant. It's not developed. We'll flip to sheet 2. Kind of gives you a better understanding of the existing conditions of the property. Basically, there's nothing on the property now. Chain link fence that wraps the site. It's pretty overgrown. It's in pretty poor condition. Based on historic aerials, this property's been vacant for a very long time. The last time that we saw something on the property was around the 1970s. So we are looking at 50 years of a pattern of poor maintenance and undeveloped piece of land. So as I mentioned, this is a property that's located in the R4 zone. They permit a variety of residential uses. So 1 to 4 family dwellings, townhouses, and up to multifamily apartment buildings like we are proposing tonight. So the proposed multifamily use is a permitted use because, as I mentioned, the zoning does allow for the variety of uses. We are here for a density variance, but the use itself is allowed in the R4 zone. So density variances are treated differently than your standard D1 use variance. Because the use is allowed, the board's focus on if they should grant the variance or not, it shifts from the use to can the site hold the proposed density or accommodate the proposed density. And when determining or analyzing that, I like to look at things like building height. I look at things like coverage. We analyze parking. We look at the things like the context of the neighborhood. So I want to start my discussion out with height. We comply with the height requirements for the zone. It's sometimes quite common in density variance applications to trigger a height variance, but we just don't have a height issue here. We're in line with the code, and we're generally similar to the height of the surrounding apartment buildings. And same thing with building coverage. This is another compliant aspect of the project. So when taking together building coverage and building height, Together, they create what we planners call the building massing. So how big this building is going to be. Both of those items or those requirements work in tandem to control that building massing. And we do comply with both of those. So I don't see any issues here with regards to the physical characteristics or the physical aesthetics or massing of the building itself, which I think is an important thing to note when you do have a density variance. So I just want to flip to sheet 5. It's once it loads, it is a zoomed out version of the aerial, and you have the zoning district overlay over the Google Earth aerial. So parking is naturally a concern. Obviously, when you have a density variance, especially coupled with deficient parking, I think Mr. Vicio, our traffic engineer, he did an excellent job explaining the parking situation for the project and justifying that the demand is sufficient. Specifically with regards to vehicle ownership in this census tract that was looked at, accessibility to bus transit in the area. The area is very walkable. As you can see, the districts across the street, across MLK Boulevard, plan south. We have many commercial districts and mixed-use districts where people would have access to goods and services and be able to walk to those different land uses. So people might not need a car in this particular location. We are also providing micromobility storage on the property. So it's just another transit option for people. But I want to talk briefly about the zone. We are in the R4 district, but Mr. Vicio brought up a very good point. This isn't an area that you see in some of the other even lower residential districts where there's a lot of competition for on-street parking. Those are in the areas of the city where you have a lot of 1, 2, 3, up to 4 family row homes where on-street parking has a lot of competition. The areas that we see in this area outside of the downtown area, which is to the rear of us in green, and outside of the commercial zones, you have low-rise or garden apartment development complexes. And what we see in those areas is they're pretty self-sufficient when it comes to parking. They have either their own driveways, which are in front of each townhouse building, or they have parking lots that are internal to the site. So I do think that that is a very, very important piece that Mr. Vicio brought up. And then I just wanted to note when I'm looking at these districts as a whole, and it's something that I observed too on my site visits, that there was less competition of parking in this area that we've seen in other areas of the city. There was about 15 spaces that I counted available right in the immediate vicinity of the property, in addition to the parking that we are proposing. With regard to the density, the districts around us actually have a lower, you're allowed a higher density, particularly directly across from our zone, the MX2 zone. They allow a 1 per 200. Also the C2 zone, also across from our zone, they also allow 1 per 200. And then the rear of the property in this green color here, this is the living downtown redevelopment plan area. So that's the main downtown in the city. There are no density requirements for that area. So I just think when we look at the context of the neighborhood, it is important to note we kind of are in a unique spot. We're wrapped on most sides with zones that would allow a higher density. And then I think that, coupled with the fact that we do have availability of parking in the immediate vicinity because we don't have that competition for on-street parking, I think plays a really big part in why this site can accommodate the density that we're proposing of 69 units now, not even 79, 69. So it was brought down by 10 units. So briefly moving on to the C variances, they are reviewed under a different standard than the density variance. I think that the C variances or the design waivers can all be granted under the C2 benefits versus detriments criteria, with the benefits substantially outweighing the detriments. We're really talking minor lighting design waivers here, as our engineer discussed. That's really a function of balancing, providing the minimums with the maximums, and they're just slightly over only in a few lighting points. But I think the important thing to note with the lighting is that the variance or the design waiver, if you will, for lighting at the property lines has been eliminated. So there's going to be no spillover to adjacent properties, just appropriate security lighting for the residents walking in front of the building and within the garage. And then with impervious, that was partially due to supplying the parking areas, trying to meet the parking requirement, which does contribute to adding overall impervious on the site. But as once again, our engineer had mentioned, stormwater management improvements, 2 different underground basins are proposed that will offset that additional coverage, which management of stormwater from a planning perspective is a benefit, for the neighborhood and the neighbors in the area. And then lastly, we have a drive aisle with relief item. We have a variance for actually exceeding the maximum. So the maximum is 20, and the site plans have been designed to provide a 22-foot drive aisle. And our engineers took a look at that. They wanted to encourage easier maneuverability on the property. And it's really a function of where the numbers kind of land. We had the room when we were laying out the parking, and you had the room under the building. So it was done to create easier maneuvers. But those are the relief items for the C variances. I once again, I see them all very minor. I think there's an easy satisfaction of that C2 test with the benefits of this project. So I want to talk kind of big picture about the city of Newark's goals. I'll stop sharing my screen now. So as it relates to the special reasons for approval, I think we can definitely tie this to the need for high quality housing. That is a goal, that is a state goal, that is a county goal, and it's a goal in the city of Newark. And I believe that what we're doing here, providing this high quality housing, supports the general welfare of the community, which aligns with Purpose A of the municipal land use law. We have the mix of affordable and market rate units, which I think is a big benefit to the community. And I think a lot of these housing goals are echoed in the city's master plan. Particularly, they call it a housing crisis that we are experiencing not only in Newark, but in this region. Basically, people, and this was quoted from this was in the master plan, people not being able to pay rents because there's a lack of affordable housing units. So as it ties back to the density, for every 5 market rate units, we build an affordable housing unit. So the way I see that is more housing units being built in the city. We're inching closer to that goal of providing a safe, high quality, up to code home for the residents of Newark, which I think is a big benefit, a big planning benefit to the community. So really, just to sum up, I think it's a beautiful project. I think that my analysis of this property originally, now with the units going down, I think there's even less of an impact. I hope that we've mitigated the concerns to the board. We're compliant on height, we're compliant on coverage, so the massing is what's envisioned here. I think Mr. Vicio did a great job understanding the parking and the parking sufficiency on the lot. We are eliminating a long-standing vacant property that I think will improve the look of the neighborhood, and we're providing a mix of market rate and affordable housing options to the residents and hopefully future residents of Newark. So I see all those things as positive and being able to accommodate the proposed project. Thank you.
Chair, no questions of Mr. Ricci.
Questions from the board for the planner? Are there questions for the planner from the board? Seeing none, questions from the objectors for the planner. Mr. Ellis.
Hi, thank you, Chairperson. I appreciate it. Engineer Ricci, or Mr. Ricci rather. I think you mentioned you've been to the site and made some observations. Can you speak to what impact you think, or what do you think the impact of your project will be on the current residents of the neighborhood, in their socioeconomic background, their demographics, and if maybe even their, speak to those issues, please. Because I think, I wonder if the people who might live in your building are in fact very different than the people who are there right now.
Okay, so Newark has what we call an affordable housing set aside. So the way that their ordinance is set up is they require us to build not just market rate units, like you said, so we don't price out certain groups of people. What you want to do is mix the units together. So you have some market rate and some affordable housing units within a market rate development. So within those affordable housing units, that percent set aside, they're tiered to different incomes and to different units. So you got some studios, some ones, some twos that will be some lower income and then some moderate income, and then you have market rate units. So the whole goal, the whole idea of that is to not separate out certain people in certain areas. It's to mix it together in a single development so everyone can enjoy the same benefits as somebody else who maybe doesn't make as much money in the same building. So that to me is a very positive planning aspect. That is a policy, that is a very positive housing policy in planning. And I think it's pretty universally understood by most town planners and city planners that there would be major benefits to the community because of that and because of these types of projects. I hope that
I thank you for the answer. I'm speaking specifically to this neighborhood, which is why I asked about your observations. Because in my own observation of the Kruger Mansion, the building that's right behind the Kruger Mansion, I walk my dog there every evening. And I also wash my laundry down the street at the 700 block where they did a little bit lower development maybe 8 years ago. And I think you'll find the people who have moved into those apartments are not people who were in the neighborhood whatsoever. Not that they're not welcome to come to the neighborhood, but I find that the people who lived here have been very much displaced by their inability to live in those buildings. And that's why I ask if you, based on your visits rather than theory, I'm an architect also, so I do a lot of 80/20s in the city. And I'm not speaking to that, I'm speaking to the reality of this area.
Well, there is no displacement here because the vacant property. So any housing is going to increase the amount of housing stock, whether it's market rate or affordable, that would be accessible to anybody of the city.
Well, the same was true for the two other projects that were built. And yet I'm not aware of people from the neighborhood who are actually residents of those properties. I'm speaking of the reality of who actually lives there. I meet them all the time doing laundry or walking my dog in the evening.
If I can find.
I don't hear a question there, Mr. Ellis. Do you have
I was asking, has he not observed these things in his observations? That's my question, because he's an expert in this subject, so I'm sure he's made the effort to observe this.
If I can, is Marcia Moore speaking?
If you can answer, Mr. Ricci.
I guess is the question, have I observed after these buildings, if they are approved and built, do residents of Newark end up being the renters?
Correct.
Are they the people that move into the building?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
The answer is yes.
Okay.
Anything further, Mr. Ellis?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Screen name Brock Diamond. Can you turn your camera and unmute yourself, sir? You're still muted.
Okay, here I am, sir. Thank you.
Sir, what is your name?
Shakir McDougal. I do apologize about the screen name.
No worries. Mr. McDougal, can you tell us your address, please?
Yes, I'm in the South Ward, 68 Seymour Avenue.
Thank you. And do you have a question for the planner, sir?
Yes. And respect to the parking, I guess I just have two questions. At which time of the year did they come and look at parking? Because I was trying to figure out, like, did they go during the time of year when it's especially busy, like during the holidays when multiple people have multiple people visiting. As well as I do know that there's a building on the corner. There's like I forget the name of the little small street, but they don't have parking in that building. So I'm just trying to figure out how is the on-street parking going to be impacted, seeing as though like some of the residents, well, at least I know that building, and I'm not sure what the proposed buildings are that they're privy to, but the parking situation. Like how are they gonna mitigate that factor? Honestly.
Ms. Moore,
Thank you.
with your permission, can we ask your traffic engineer to answer those questions? You're
You're still
muted.
under oath, Andrew.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Vecchio, if you heard those questions from Mr. McDougal?
I did. The on-street parking utilization counts were conducted on Tuesday, August 20th, 2024, overnight, well, at 11 p.m. specifically.
Okay, so you're saying that was during the summertime?
Correct.
Any further questions, Mr. McDougal?
Yes, my second question was about how do they plan on mitigating the parking, seeing as though that the building on the corner. I heard someone say something about they're going to have on-site parking as well as they're going to be utilizing the street parking. But I'm just trying to, because they were saying like it's walkable, so they're imagining a lot of people won't be having cars. I guess that's the implication that they were trying to assert. I just wasn't sure if like how did they come to that conclusion?
Understood, Mr. Vecchio?
Thank you.
So utilize census data to understand vehicle ownership rates in different areas of different cities. And we came to the conclusion that the parking demand for the original application would be about well, the originally proposed number of units would be around 40. The demand would be around 40. So that would go down slightly, and that's based on census data.
For
So
2020, correct?
the census data is 5-year data from
Oh,
2022.
okay.
The American Community Survey. So it's a combination of census data and on-street parking.
Thank you very much for answering my questions. Thank you.
Thank
You
you,
to the
Mr.
board.
Anything further, Mr. McDougal? Oh,
No, everyone have a great day. Thank you.
thank you. If there are no further questions for Mr. Ricci, counsel, do you have any further witnesses?
Chair, I do not have any further witness, but I do reserve the right.
Sure, we'll come back. It's now the opportunity for members of the public to make statements. If you care to make a statement, this is how we'll proceed. I'll ask you to submit to the oath. I'll ask you to put your name and address on the
Well,
record.
I guess I would like to make a statement if I may.
Okay, I'm just laying out how we're gonna do that.
Okay.
I'll ask you to raise your hands. I'll call you in order. I'll ask you to submit to the oath. Put your
Yes, sir.
name and address on the record, and
you can see me.
you will then have about 3 minutes to make a statement. Mr. McDougal is very eager to start. So, Mr. McDougal, could you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Please state your name, give us your address and your statement for the record, sir.
Shakir McDougal, Seymour Avenue, 68 Seymour Avenue, Newark, New Jersey. And I guess my statement is I'm appreciating the people coming to our city and building and creating more housing. We are in a crisis. I understand that a lot of these proposed buildings don't necessarily meet all the requirements that the city is requesting, and so a lot of variances and a lot of there's a lot of give and take asked here and there. I do feel like it should be very because I had a question earlier about what's the community benefit. I feel like I heard a gentleman explaining that having apartments, more apartments is the community benefit. But as the gentleman who was in opposition said, that there are community impacts, especially with the food resources that are being distributed next to that. So I'm not sure who the developer personally is, but if they could try to somehow contribute to that aspect as well, because not only is there a housing crisis in our city, that we also suffer from being in a food desert, and anything that would impact people's ability to get food at any time of the year will definitely be a detriment. So again, I'm not sure what other type of community benefits that they're thinking of. I mean, I doubt if they were even asked of any community benefits. Um, but if they could consider working with those organizations to assist in any way, I think that that would be most appreciated and go a long way with serving our community. And thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McDougal. Mr. Ellis, do you care to make a statement at this time?
No, but I appreciate all your clarifications tonight. Thank you very much.
If anyone else cares to make a statement, please identify yourself by raising your hand. You could do that by using the raise hand feature at the bottom, excuse me, of your computer screen or your mobile device, or if you're on a telephone, press *9. I would ask you to do so now, please. I see no raised hands. Council? I lost council.
Karen, I'm right here. I'm Chair, can you just give me 1 minute, please, before I do my summation? Just 1 minute.
I'll give you 5 minutes, 8:36, but let's be prompt.
All right, thank you.
Off the record until 8:36.
Recording stopped.
It's 8:38. Folks can come back. Mr. Mayor, we could always second call you if you need more time. Ms. Moore, we may have to prevent you from ever being called early in the agenda.
Okay, I gotta go.
Okay.
All right, okay.
You're unmuted, Ms. Moore.
Thank you. I will not continue to hold up your agenda, but I do appreciate the time. I understand.
Recording in progress.
Understood. We're back on the record. Ms. Moore, do you need more time? We can second call you.
Not after Mr. Souter's case, then I'll be here all day. I would like the opportunity to sum up.
Please.
Okay.
We're back on the record with ZBA-24-73, 616, 622, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Council?
Right. And again, I want to thank the board for the opportunity to listen to this project, listen to our professionals, and to ask the questions and the conditions that's referenced. And I think if you look at this project, we have a block, property that's been vacant for over 50 years. It's been underutilized. And we have a developer who's coming in and bringing a team, and as Chair Fine indicated, innovative project, this building design. This is not a boilerplate building design. And again, we're asking for a density variance. This is a property where the use is permitted. Low-rise multifamily dwellings are permitted in the area. The applicant and developer and the entire team wanted to build a building within the envelope. So in terms of height, we're meeting the height. In terms of setbacks, we're meeting the setbacks. In terms of the rear yard, we're meeting the rear yard. And in my coming before this board, important as far as landscaping and shade trees, the applicant is addressing that. And they're willing to meet with the arborists for relocation so we can meet this shade tree, the landscaping design for a positive project. And when you look at density, and we talk about density, the density again is, can the site accommodate the use? And I believe the applicant has addressed that. There were concerns regarding the size of the bedrooms or the apartments, where the applicant has agreed to decrease the overall density and increase the size of the apartments. Again, can the site accommodate the use? The site can accommodate the use where the applicant looked at the project and is willing to provide that open green space, also respect to the landscaping that our civil engineer has mentioned. And again, the standard, the relaxed standard is, can the site accommodate the use? And the applicant has agreed to reduce that density by increasing or combining apartments so the site can accommodate the use. We talk about affordable housing, where the 20% affordable housing, our planners indicated that there is a need not only in the city, but also the county and also the state for affordable housing. And the 69 units with this density will provide those affordable housing. Mr. Ritchie's indicated that this IZO plan for the city is for Newark residents, and he can testify to, and has testified to, that this will address the needs of the citizens. We are providing a housing stock, again, of a property that's been vacant for over 50 years, underutilized, where developers are not willing to come in to build this project. But this owner, this developer, is willing to undertake that, again, to meet the building envelope in terms of size and addressing any concerns that this board has. The relaxed standard, again, when can the site accommodate the use, is regarding the positive criteria. And I won't repeat them because I believe our planner has addressed them. And I mentioned the affordable units. We were meeting stormwater. Our civil engineer, as well as Mr. Rott, talk about the infrastructure improvements that this project will meet and will address. Again, I come back to the building coverage and the stormwater requirements. And when you're looking at density, again, this is a relaxed standard, is that the site can accommodate the use. We are increasing the size of the apartments. And I believe this is a positive application. This is a needed application. And I would ask that the board grant the approvals with the conditions that the applicant has agreed to. And that includes addressing any, as far as the left turns concerned, or any safety issues, as far as providing the alert system or audible alert for the garage, and meeting with the civics engineer in order to mitigate any issues regarding a left-hand turn. This is a positive project. This is a needed project for the city. And I ask that the board grant the approvals.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, council. We're now in discussion. I have discussion from the board. Is there any discussion from the board? Commissioner Comisañez.
I appreciate the lowering the density in the area. I'm in the area frequently. There's parking situations in a lot of parts of the city, but MLK typically during the day isn't bad for parking. It is during school hours, right? Picking up kids, dropping kids off from the schools in the area. When it comes to the double parking, which is very real, and I've seen multiple people hit on that corner. But the people in the wrong are the people double parking or the people jaywalking, so, I think there's an opportunity to maybe bridge the gap with the organizations and help have somebody direct that, but we can't hold this owner responsible for that. You don't stop building because people need to be fed. You attack homelessness and continue to feed the people and cooperate with those programs to make them more successful in the neighborhood. I think this is a beautiful project. When I saw who the architect was, I couldn't wait to see it. I do think there was a missed opportunity for something on the rooftop, especially with the views into New York uninterrupted. If you're going to ask for 20 units over, you might as well ask for 4 or 5 more feet, right? But it's a beautiful building. Mr. Matlu always gives us these memorable projects that can be built and maybe become something new that Newark is known for. But the size of this, the size of the units is right in line with what was approved across the street behind the Kruger Mansion. I wasn't on the board at the time, but I've been in that building and I know the measurements. So I do think for what was presented today, this building is a good building for this area. It's going to provide housing. It's going to give people that qualify for affordable a chance to live in a really nice, pretty property, and maybe help boost some self-esteem and where they can move forward.
Thank you, Commissioner Hall.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. First of all, I'd like to thank the community for participating and giving some insight of what's really going on in the neighborhood. So thank you for that. I'm struggling with this one because it's a good application in that there's a lot of pluses there. Beautiful, beautiful, different building. And I appreciate the movement of the applicant to trying to make a movement to address the density. My concern is is still a very dense project. At the same time, I appreciate professional testimony. And I'm needed housing, yes. 50 years, vacant lot, positive, and now we're going to have something there. Something beautiful. Again, I always look at like a Hallmark in the middle of something, being close to the Kruger Mansion. There's just a lot of pluses there. But density, Mike, I struggle with it having to be so much, and we deal with this week after week. So, you know, I don't know where I'm at this point. I'll listen to my other colleagues, but it is a beautiful project with a lot of positives. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Further comments from the board? Commissioner Cobian.
Good evening. I do agree that density was an issue. However, I do thank the applicant for reducing the amount of units and making them a little bit bigger. I think the design is beautiful on a vacant lot, and I will be in support of this application.
Thank you. Further questions further comments from the board?
Chair, just for clarification,
Commissioner Comisarios.
the density, lowering the density was a condition of approval. The outdoor space, I know they mentioned they could accommodate by removing a patio from another apartment. I didn't ask for that as a condition of approval. I don't want to cost somebody their patio if you don't have to. I trust the architect to do that, but just the condition of approval is the lower density, correct?
Thank you for that, Commissioner, Council. As a condition of approval, does your applicant agree to reduce the unit count from 79 to 69?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Comisarios. Further comments from the board? Further comments from the board? This is, as I noted, I think this is a different design. I said it was refreshing. I think Council Moore put a lot more into my comments than I intended to. It's different. I think it's modern. I think it's modern. Some people will like it. Some people will think some people don't like the modern look. I'm happy that I thought it was refreshing because we're seeing that same building type, and it's happening all over the state. So I appreciated this difference. 28 units over. I mean, that was kind of shocking. It was really shocking. And you know, and I tried to convey that to the architect who came in knowing we were going to have a problem. I have to say, when folks come in and say this is an empty lot, there was nothing here for X years, I now find that offensive. I think I'm offended by the thought that anyone would think that our city has to accept something because nothing was there. Maybe that was true 20 years ago, but it's certainly not true now. It's not enough to build something where there was nothing. It has to be something that moves our city and its people forward. So I hope I hear less of that as a reason, and it's not a reason to grant variances. I do appreciate the movement down. I wish it was more. I am concerned about left-hand turns onto that crowded and, as Commissioner Comisania said, dangerous for pedestrians and jaywalkers and people crossing. I guess I'm kind of with Commissioner Hall, but I guess I'm you know, Council Moore as usually put on prosecuted a really good application, and I think she may have won me over. So are there any more comments? If there are no more comments from the board, May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve ZBA 24-73, 616-622, Dr. MLK Boulevard, with all conditions mentioned on the record.
We have a motion for approval with conditions. May I have a
Second.
second? Second, Commissioner Cobian, call the roll, please.
Member Comesan, yes.
Yes.
Member Jones,
You're muted, Member Jones.
Yes.
Member Hall,
Yes.
Member Hardesty,
Yes.
Member Rivero,
Yes.
Member Cobian,
Yes.
Chair Alphonse.
Yes, council, I wonder if you would agree to conditional preliminary and conditional final site plan approval, that condition being that you meet with board staff, the planner, the arborist, engineer, water and show them and to their acceptance that you've met all conditions. Is that-
Absolutely, yes.
may I have a motion for site plan?
Motion.
Second.
Motion Hall, second Comissan, just call the roll, please.
Member Comesan, yes.
Yes.
Member Jones,
Yes.
Member Hall,
Yes.
Member Hardesty,
Yes.
Member Rivero,
Yes.
Member Cobian,
Yes.
Chair Alphonse.
Yes. Congratulations, your application and preliminary and conditional preliminary and conditional final site plan approval have been granted. And I hope when we see you with Mr. Mulu again, we won't be so shocked by the density requests.
And I want to thank the board and again, Mr. Ellis, and I believe Mr. Diamond again for your comments. We appreciate it. You have my information, so I will again, thank you again and see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you.
The time is now 8:56 PM. The next item on tonight's agenda is ZBA 24-02, located at 200-204, 206-208 Market Street, and 21-23 Edison Place. Block 164, lots 20, 23, 25, and 90 in the East Ward. The applicant is Prudential Point LLC. In the Living Downtown redevelopment and downtown core redevelopment plan, the applicant proposes a 41-story mixed-use building with 514 residential units, parking, and retail use. Applicant is seeking a D6 variance for exceeding maximum permitted height on lot 90. See variances for insufficient setback facing Edison Place, insufficient ground floor transparency, Edison Place, exceeding maximum transparency above ground floor, Edison Place. Final site plan approval is required. This application was granted variance approval and preliminary site plan on March 28, 2024.
I wonder if the applicant's entire team is in. Is the applicant's entire team in? I think this is council. Council Souter, is your entire team in? I think we
I
made,
believe it's
I
a
think-
repeat of professionals with the exception of the planner, Mr. Chair.
excuse me?
So I believe it is a repeat of professionals with the exception of the planner.
We panicked Ms. Moore when she thought she was gonna have to be second called after your case. So I wonder if there are any objectors here. If you're an objector to this application, I'd appreciate if you identify yourself by raising your hand. You could do that by placing a cursor at the bottom of the computer screen or your mobile at the bottom of your mobile device. If you're on the phone, please press *9. I'd ask you to do so now. The Board of Adjustment made the following findings of fact with respect to 200, 208, and 21-23 Edison Place. It's located in Newark's downtown neighborhood on the southern side of Market Street between Broad and Mulberry Streets. The total site area is approximately 17,108 square feet. The surrounding land uses consist of commercial and mixed-use properties, surface parking lots, and the Prudential Center Arena. Ms. Mejia, were there any raised hands from members of the public?
No, they were not.
Let the record so reflect. Counsel, your appearance for the record, please.
Calvin Souter, Souter Law Group, on behalf of the applicant.
Welcome, counsel. Please proceed.
Thank you. If everyone recalls, this project has gone through a few discussions here, but was able to, with some significant changes to the ground floor and the circulation as related to entering and exiting the property, we were able to get to a place where the city was satisfied. We believe our neighbors ultimately were satisfied. And where we are today, as you may recall, the building that sat there previously has been demolished at this point because that building was structurally unsound. We've been able to accomplish that and working with our neighbors to not disturb folks' businesses, which was a great concern at the time. And we believe that this project, despite only achieving preliminary approval, which was done because there were a series of changes that were kind of done in a very short period of time. And we wanted to make sure, this board wanted to make sure that the engineering department and the traffic engineer would have the adequate amount of time to study and review the changes that were made in conjunction with them to make sure that they actually worked. So we've done that. We've had our technical review with the city. This project has not changed from the preliminary application. It is, for all intents and purposes, exactly the same. I shouldn't even say intensive purposes. It is exactly the same as it was previously. The city seems to be okay with what we have done here. We do have the latest reports of April 28th and 29th from engineering and traffic. We can comply with all of those requests as a condition of approval, which I think were just some of our typical requests. That being said, in an interest of time, I do have all of my professionals here. The big question was with the traffic engineer. So if it is okay with the chairman, I'd like to call our traffic engineer to just give us a summation of what has happened or if there's been any changes, and to open the floor for questioning from this board.
Oh, if it were only so, counsel. Oh, if it were only so. Ms. Mejia, do you have a history on this? Can you tell us who sat on this when the last time it was before us?
Yes. Member Hall, Member Hardesty, Member Jones, Member Cobian, Member Torres, Vice Chair Mumford, and Chair Afan.
So just one more time. Hall,
Hardesty, Jones, Cobian, Torres, Mumford, and Afan.
so council, you have six folks that heard this. I'm certainly willing to proceed if you like. As you know, you have a right to proceed before a full board. And we have a full board here, but and you know how that sentence ends.
I'm ready to go forward, Mr. Chairman. We're gonna try to keep this short, for folks, so that we don't go too long, but to ensure that everyone, including those who may not have been here before, are capable or get a full presentation, can ask whatever questions they would like to ask.
Thank you, and that is your right. Council, who are you going to call first?
I would like to call Andrew Vicio, from Stonefield.
Mr. Vicio, could you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And please state your name, address, and relationship to this application.
Andrew Vicio, V as in Victor, ISCHIO, employed by Stonefield Engineering and Design, located at 92 Park Avenue in Rutherford, New Jersey. I am the applicant's traffic engineer on the project.
Thank you, counsel.
Thank you, Andrew. You did the plan, the traffic study in relation to this project?
That is correct.
Can you go through the paces, kind of in summary fashion, of what that entailed, and what changes were made to accommodate the city's request?
Absolutely. So the first time before we were before this board for this application was, I want to say March of last year. Over the course of several weeks, we worked closely with the city's engineering department to address concerns that the city engineering officials had, the board and other interested parties may have had, many of them related to traffic issues. Ultimately, the application received preliminary site plan approval, as council mentioned. The plan before you today is identical to the plan that received preliminary site plan approval from a traffic and parking perspective. Just to quickly recap, what is proposed is 514 units for a 46-story residential building that is providing 142 on-site parking spaces with a relatively small ground floor commercial space fronting Market Street. Some highlights of the improvements that happened over the course of the prior approval, which remain in place in this plan before you. Residents of the building can now exit onto Market Street when Edison Place is closed for an event at the Prudential Center. I'm going to share my screen to show the site plan. I think that might help facilitate the conversation. I don't think this needs to be introduced as an exhibit because I'm sharing the submitted site plan set. But just for everyone's knowledge, I am referring to sheet C5 entitled Site Plan of the preliminary and final major site plan set, which was last revised August 8th, 2024. So residents of this building can now exit onto Market Street when Edison Place is closed for an event at the Prudential Center. Trucks will now enter the site via Edison Place rather than Market Street. And the driveway along Market Street, which will only serve exiting trucks and passenger cars when Edison Place is closed, was shifted farther away from the Beaver Street crosswalk along Market Street. Those are all improvements that happened over the course of a few weeks during the prior application. Those are all still part of the plan set that is before you this evening. In addition to those improvements, and in recognition of the complexity of this project with respect to traffic, several conditions were agreed to as part of the preliminary site plan approval. Two important conditions related to traffic and parking I feel are worth highlighting. Certainly remain in place. The applicant shall meet with the city's professionals quarterly to review traffic in and around the property and update and make any requested changes to traffic and parking plans.
And that was agreed to as a condition of approval, as I recall. Is that correct? Council, is that correct?
That is correct.
That is
Thank you.
correct. And the
Thank you.
second condition of approval that I just wanted to highlight is that the applicant shall maintain parking staff at sufficient levels. If the board may recall, the on-site parking system utilizes exclusively professional valet operators, and maintaining that staff at sufficient levels was previously agreed to as a condition of approval. So in summary, with extensive and thoughtful collaboration between the city officials and the board and the applicant last year, we were able to modify the site design to create access points and circulation that work in this unique and somewhat challenging location. We have maintained those solutions. We've formalized them in the plans that are before you today. Seeing as many of the board members have some familiarity with the application, I'm going to pause now and see if there are any questions that you would like me to address.
Council, anything further from this witness?
No.
Are there any questions for the traffic engineer from the board? Questions from the traffic engineer from the board? Mr. Bishio, I thank you for I think Commissioner Montford, Vice Chair Montford was really concerned about the trucks entering through Market Street because they have to back up. I wonder if you can just show us that entrance around the corner and make that a little larger for old eyes like mine. Really old guys like Commissioner Hall.
That's right.
So all vehicles would enter the site from Edison Place. They trucks would traverse through the site, move forward, and back into this loading zone that is separated somewhat from the valet stacking area. After the deliveries are made, that truck would proceed to exit onto Market Street, which is now a one-way egress driveway that is specifically right turn only. So that truck would make a right turn onto Market Street. Again, the driveway, the very first time you saw these plans was over here closer to the crosswalk. It's now farther west, and that truck would be required to make a right turn out of the site.
Can you discuss some of the safety mechanisms that are in place there?
I apologize. I don't want to speculate on the are you referring to architectural
No, I'm talking about things like the stop bar so that the
okay.
go out and right.
Sorry, I thought you were talking to
No.
architectural items. We are proposing a 24-inch, your standard sized painted white stop bar, a wall-mounted stop sign, and a sign that specifically indicates that left turns are prohibited.
What about audio and visual devices to alert pedestrians that vehicles will be exiting?
I don't recall if those are part of the application, but I'm sure the applicant would be willing to agree to that.
Not a problem, Chairman, as a condition of approval to do something like that.
Are you going to bring an other engineer on?
Yes,
Okay.
we have our engineers here as well.
So we could save that for the engineer. Commissioner, Mr. Trafficante, I see your hand raised.
Yes, sir.
You raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony about to provide be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and title for the record.
Name is Charles Trafficante. I'm a principal engineer and a professional engineer. I'm in the employment of the City of Newark Department of Engineering. My license is active and in good standing with the state board.
Mr. Trafficante.
Yes, sir. Mr. Vishio, I guess in addition to those signs, would it be possible to put some traffic markings, like a right turn only arrow on that exit driveway to Market Street, and instead of a no left turn, a right turn only sign to go with or corroborate the right turn only traffic marking?
Certainly.
All right. That's it for now.
Thank you. Council, I'm gonna need your assistance here. Was there, am I correct in recalling, was there a request to limit the time of truck deliveries? Did we ask for that, something to that effect, as best you can recall as a condition of approval?
I can read that condition. There was a condition specifically that talked to that. I don't think hours were exactly specified. If you just bear with me for one moment.
Sure. And as I recall, I think it was limited to the size of truck. Delivery trucks weren't.
So the condition specifically is that the applicant shall confer with the Department of Engineering to determine the permitted size of trucks in the loading area, any limitations with respect to loading and unloading, and the permitted delivery times.
Okay, and counsel, you're on behalf of your applicant, you agree to continue to accept those conditions of approval?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Are there any other conditions affecting traffic, Mr. Vishio, that we imposed?
There is one that states that the applicant shall revise plans to relocate loading zone to inside the building and show any revised designated parking areas, but that was already in the modified plans that received preliminary and are before you today.
And I think you already mentioned that another condition of approval was to maintain an adequate valet parking staff.
That is
Right.
correct.
Right, and again, that will be determined with in conjunction with our Department of Engineering and our board planning staff. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is that correct, counsel?
That is correct.
Anything further from this witness, counsel?
No, Mr. Chair.
Are there any questions from the board for Mr. Vishio, who has absented himself from the screen quickly? Commissioner Philby.
So I just want to clarify, residents can't make a right through Market Street,
They can only make a right.
on Market Street.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess, Mr. Vishio, Commissioner Cobian makes me think we're back to that same left-hand turn thing, right? Would you agree, council, as a condition of approval to also discuss with the Department of Engineering how to prevent left-hand turns out, well, they can't be out of, right? Because that's one way, but into the site.
Left hand turns out. We'll work with the Department of
The
Engineering
Market Street.
to yes, we don't have an issue with that condition.
Thank you, counsel. Are any further questions from the board for the traffic engineer? Are there any questions from the public for the traffic engineer? Counsel.
Thank you. With that, I'd like to call Michaela, our engineer.
Hi, Ms. McGuire, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm testimony you're about to provide be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name, your address in relationship to this application, please.
Michaela McGuire, last name spelled Maguire. I'm a project manager at Stonefield Engineering and Design, located at 92 Park Ave in Rutherford, New Jersey, and I'm the site civil engineer for the project.
Thank you. Ms. McGuire is known to this board. She's previously been accepted as an expert in the field of engineering. Her license is current. Isn't that correct, Ms. McGuire?
Correct.
And we will accept her as an expert in the field of engineering right now. Council.
Thank you. Ms. McGuire, you are the engineer on this project, correct?
Correct, I am.
And has this project changed any since our preliminary application?
It has not. From the second hearing, what we showed and testified to, there's been no further changes.
Can you, hopefully in a summary fashion, just go over the highlights of this application?
Yes, I can. I'm going to share.
Very high level summary
Yeah.
for the board.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yes. You can make it bigger. That'd be even better.
Yes, I can. So Mr. Vishio did give a very good description of the changes that were made. I can kind of summarize, as council said, in a high level manner, focus on more of the site civil engineering items. But the applicant is proposing a 41-story building with 514 dwelling units and 142 parking spaces. Mr. Vishio did describe the circulation. That was changed based off of the last meeting. We are proposing new sidewalk and curbing along both frontages. One of the modifications we made in between the original two hearings was moving the exit driveway for the loading zone page left. So we did modify where we were proposing those street trees along the frontage. I do want to note we're still meeting the requirement along that frontage. And another one of the modifications we made was analyzing those existing light poles as well as relocating one of the light poles, again, from this loading zone exit modification. It was noted in the latest engineering review letter that we are seeking some relief now for the light levels along this property frontage along Market Street. I do just want to note that that is because we are modeling the two existing city light poles that are along the frontage. Those separation and lighting requirements are not triggered by any of the wall-mounted fixtures or canopy fixtures. Regarding any of the more technical items, so the stormwater utilities, we haven't proposed any change since the original application. We are still proposing an underground detention basin that is proposed to connect via Edison Place. We are a major development, so we're meeting the city requirements there. For the utilities, we're proposing all the utilities to tie into Market Street, aside from the domestic water lateral that we're proposing to tie into Edison Place. And we did meet with the Water and Sewer Department previously, and we do agree to meet with them again, as well as do the hydrant flow tests as they typically require. The last thing I will note is we are still seeking relief for the street trees along Edison Place. Currently, the sidewalk has a minimal width. I believe it's 7.1 feet. We don't have enough room to provide street trees here and have a safe pedestrian sidewalk width. So we are seeking relief on that item, which I know was noted as well in the engineering review letter. We did review the review letter that was put together for this revised resubmission. There's nothing in the letter that we can't agree to work with the professionals to comply with.
Council?
Thank you. I turn it over to you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Trafficante.
Yes, sir. Ms. McGuire, you are in receipt of the Department of Engineers report to the board dated April 29th.
Yes, I am. I have it in front of me.
There were a couple points. Now, I don't want to beat a dead horse. Maybe they've been already addressed. I can't remember. But on page 3, under item number 4, site plan, on page 3, we ask for testimony to the board as to how they, you being the applicant, intend to keep the 3-meter parking spaces in front of the subject site along Market Street during construction. And we also ask for a letter of approval from the Newark Parking Authority. I don't know if you could address that, or if the board wants to hear it again.
So under proposed conditions, we will not be maintaining those 3-metered spaces with these revisions to move the loading zone exit onto Market Street. Right now, we are proposing to stripe out that area. We do agree to get approval from the parking authority.
I can note that we have had conversations with the parking authority. They
This is
have a
Council
process.
Souter.
I'm sorry, my apologies, Mr. Chairman.
Huh?
We have had conversations with the parking authority. They do have a process for how they go about doing this, and we have begun that process.
Right, so one way or another, you'll get the approval from the parking authority, either to put them back or to pay them out.
That is correct.
All right.
Council, you agree to that as a, on behalf of your applicant as a condition of approval?
Yes.
Of course, if there's a problem, you have the right to come back before this board to address that issue. Thank you.
Understood. Thank you.
One point I'd like to make to the board, one of the comments in the news report from the Department of Engineering, we are now asking the applicant to put a handicap ramp across Market Street at the other end of that new crosswalk you showed. Yeah. On the corner of was it Beaver Street? Excuse me, Beaver Street and Market Street. All right, either there's no ramp that, ramp at the other end, or if there is, it isn't compliant. So we need a ramp to be installed there in accordance with ADA requirements, which requires a detectable warning surface, and it has to face the crosswalk it is intended to serve. The Department of Engineering recommends to the board that as a condition of approval, assuming the applicant's attorney and site engineer consents, another handicap ramp be installed on the other side of Market Street on the corner of Beaver Street and Market.
I would ask, Mr. Chair, that we, as a condition of approval, that we confer with engineering on this. There is another major development happening on that corner. So I don't believe that it should be our responsibility when someone is building on that corner. And they are also building a large property themselves. So we don't have a problem. I actually think there is a handicap ramp on our side, but if there is not one, I'm sure we would not have a problem with doing that. But we would like to have further discussions before we commit to the other side of the street where someone else is going to be building and already has their approvals in hand. And it's our understanding that their development is imminent.
Well,
Mr. Trafficante?
towards that end, I'd just like to say, should they end up not developing for whatever reason, lack of funding, which usually what kills it, right, Mr. Souter? That by ADA requirements, you can't not have a single ramp. There has to be a receiving ramp at the other end of the crosswalk. Should, for whatever reason, the development across the street doesn't move forward, would it be fair to say, would your client be willing to agree at the recommendation of the Department of Engineering to the board, recommend as a condition of approval, a receiving ramp be installed at the other end of the ramp you're putting in on your side of Market Street?
I would still ask that we, as a condition of approval, be able to discuss this in more depth.
So here's my problem with that request, Ms. Sauter. I hear your concern, but I what is that condition then?
Yeah, I'm having a hard time just understanding why a condition such as that would be put on us. It's not our corner. We're not affecting that corner. So I just want to be able to talk it through in depth. It was not something that came up during technical review for this project. So this is a new thing that we've known now for 2 days. I'm just asking that we have more time to discuss it and look at the feasibility of it. There's a light there. So this is a very expensive scenario that we're talking about. This is not just a curb cut. So I just want to be able to talk through that with the engineering department. with more time. That's what I'm asking for. And if at the end of the day, they say that they want it, and as ultimately we would be agreeing to whatever the outcome of that conversation is and what they want. But I do believe a further discussion should be had before we agree to something that would be a six-figure price tag.
Mr. Trafficante?
I mean, we can agree to meet, that's not a problem, but as we all know, talk is cheap, isn't it, Mr. Souter? And if I am required to get a receiving ramp on the other side of that street, I can't have you just have a crosswalk, which you're putting in, and only one ramp on, I guess, what is that, the south side of Market Street? All right, without having a receiving ramp across the street on the north side of Market Street, where your new crosswalk, which we required you to put in, leads up to. So that's the concern. I mean, you know, I don't want to chase my tail here, or I ask the board to do the same. You know, we can agree to meet. That's not a problem. We can always meet. All right. I just want to make sure there's something in place that.
Yeah, I would love to just meet, and if you force it, you tell us that we have to do it after that conversation, we will agree to that condition. I just, would like to have a more in-depth conversation about what is going to be required to make it happen. And to see if those costs can be shared with the other development that is happening on that corner. As you know, we're going to be forced to redo the water main as a condition of approval here. And with all the other new development going in, everyone will share on that. So we're just asking for some relief in that regard.
So I think that's a fair request council makes, Mr. Trafficante. And council, I wonder if can we agree as a condition of approval that your applicant will meet with the Department of Engineering and will arrive at a mutually agreeable method to install the handicap ramp being requested from Mr. Trafficante?
Absolutely.
Is that fair to you, Mr. Trafficante?
Yes, Chairman.
Great. Anything else, Mr. Trafficante?
One last question. Addressed to Ms. McGuire. On the new report from the Department of Engineering, on page 4, item 5, Roman numeral 1. Plan shows changes in grade at one of the adjoining lots, I believe the northeast corner. Plan indicates a change cut an existing grade of approximately 4 inches, 0.3 feet, within the northeast corner of the subject site, next to neighboring lot 27, block 164. Applicant shall provide a grading drainage plan to eliminate any proposed changes in grade next to, in front of adjoining lots located on both the east and west sides of the subject site, if possible. Applicant shall also provide testimony to the board to address this concern, especially with regard to the northeast corner of the subject site. Can you address that concern, Ms. McGuire?
Yes, we did review that prior to this hearing because we did see that comment. We can revise the grading plan to no longer show a 3 or 4 inch difference in that area as it is on the property line. So we can revise and comply with that comment.
And you'll agree to that as a condition of approval, Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
The council, on behalf of your client?
Yes.
And Ms.
Mr.
McGuire,
Trafficante, anything else?
yeah, can you still, by doing that, can you still meet the 2% maximum cross slope on the sidewalks? Where that cut is, where you had that cut?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so that doesn't become an issue later.
Correct. We can still design it to be ADA compliant in that area.
No further questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. McGuire, your testimony was that you weren't able to do anything with the trees on Edison Place. Is that correct?
Correct.
If I recall correctly, that was something that you were going to meet with the arborist about. Did that meeting take place? If you know?
To my knowledge, we have not met with the arborist
As a
yet.
condition of approval, council, would you agree to meet with the city's arborist in an attempt to plant those trees or find some alternate plantings that's agreeable to the city's arborist? Would you agree to that as a condition of approval?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. McGuire, were there any other conditions of approval that the board requested that we haven't just mentioned?
Not to my knowledge regarding the site civil aspects.
Council, what about audio and visual alarms entering the parking area?
Yes, similarly, I believe that was a comment that we responded to in the last resubmission we did to the engineering department. We did agree to provide some sort of warning mechanism at the exit driveway for, again, pedestrians that may be walking along Market Street.
Great, and that's also a condition of approval, is that correct, Ms. Council?
We can make that a condition of approval when it comes to, I believe we worked out with the engineering department, the crossbar. But if you would like a warning signal, audible warning signal, I believe we do not have a problem with that, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, I think you've used audio and visual ones in the past, so that would be helpful, especially on Market.
Understood. We don't have a problem with that as a condition of approval.
Thank you. Were there any other conditions of approval regarding engineering that I'm leaving out, council? There was, you did get approval from the Historic Commission, correct?
That is correct.
They had a concern about the height.
Yes, we had reduced the building already. So the plan before this board is the reduced height building.
Right. Their request was that the height be no taller than, help me out there.
744 Broad Street, which is the previous tallest building in the city.
Right.
This building matches that height.
Right, and what is that height? You know what?
Our architect could, I don't want to.
Okay, yeah. All right, council.
Thank you. I don't have anything else for Ms. McGuire unless the board does.
Nope.
All right, with that,
well, and let me just check. Are there any questions from the board for the engineer? Questions for the engineer from the board? Are there questions from the public for the engineer? Council?
Thank you. With that, I'd like to call Murat Mutlu.
Is there a density variance here though?
There is a variance. If you recall, Mr. Chair, this building sits in between two different zones. So the back portion of the building has a piece that sticks out that requires us to seek a variance. But I like Mr. Mutlu to.
Mr. Mutlu, could you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Please state your name, your address in relationship to this application, please.
My name is Murat Mutlu. I'm the project architect. Office address 330 West 38th Street, New York, New York.
Thank you. Council.
Murat, you were the architect who designed this building, correct?
Correct, yes.
Can you explain the need for the variances that we're requesting here, and then do a high level overview of the project? If in your opinion, it hasn't changed since our preliminary application.
Correct. The project was approved, and the condition was that we would discuss the ground level traffic circulation with the city's engineering department. Since then, or since the beginning of the project, there's been no change in the application except the ground level.
Can you explain the variance request and why we need it here?
There was a split zone in the property, the back section, there was a tail of the project. I can present. The back section of the property was in a different zone, and we requested a variance for that to be included in the living downtown massing sort of requirements.
Can you give a general overview of the project, please?
It's a 41-story mixed-use building with 514 apartments and commercial spaces on the lower levels. The podium has commercial and valet parking spaces. The valet would take the cars at the ground level, bring them up to the parking floors, 2 floors of parking with stackers. So those are only accessed by building staff. The residents will not have access to the stacker areas.
Do you have a general a rendering that you can provide for us this evening?
Sure. This was a slide from the presentation we gave last year representing the height of, it was just open, so if you don't mind, I can just explain this. That is the height of the sort of the tallest building in the Four Corners Historic District, and we're going to be lower than this height. And for tonight, I actually had just these exhibits, just a refresher of what the project was. The 41-story residential tower with a parking and commercial podium. As mentioned before, Edison Place in the view with parking and loading entrances from Edison. And these two plans are side by side explaining the very original application. And then this is the layout we came up with the engineering department conversations. So the red line, this is on the right is a new plan. The red line shows the truck path going sort of up the page, and then so the truck would go this way and then back into that indoor loading area. Previously, it was here, the loading area. The trucks would have to back in from Market Street. So we improved that condition, and that there's no truck backing into the property. So it's definitely a safer and a cleaner sort of circulation that we created. And from outside, the only change was that the loading door, sort of the garage door, was on the left side. It's now on the right side of the property. So those are the only architectural changes since the original application. And then these are some general views with no change since the original applications.
Mr. Chair?
Are there questions for the architect from the board? Questions from the architect from the board? Ms. Mulu, could you go back to the, and I'm sorry, could you go back to the drawing that shows the height?
The survey of, we had this building surveyed with a drone by a professional surveyor, and then based on these, we reference these heights, so we're lower than the existing conditions.
So what are you showing there? You're showing 744, correct?
Correct. Yes, we're showing the roof.
And you're showing the building that the roof, it goes to 515.04 feet.
Correct. Yes.
And then there's an antenna that goes higher.
Right.
And what's the height of your proposed building?
We are 489.
Thank you.
And 489.
Mr. Mulu, you seem to be lower energy than the first application. I mean, you have me.
It's getting. I wasn't expecting to present actually. It was more. We assumed it was more of a traffic conversation, but I can certainly refresh memories. Start from the beginning. I don't want to bore the.
Can you refresh recollections as to any conditions of approval regarding the architectural, other than the height?
I can't recall. I think the height was not a condition of this board. It was a condition of the landmarks, and then the landmarks condition is written here, and we're complying with this exactly.
Absolutely.
all of the, Mr. Chairman, all of the conditions of approval in the prior preliminary application dealt with engineering, water, sewer, the city's arborist, and of that nature, but not in terms of the architectural.
Okay, Commissioner Cobian, thank you.
Well, I don't know if this is for the architect or the engineer, but is there any way that during special events, the residents could come in through Market? My concern is like, I know they're gonna have these meetings with the city, but that street, Edison gets shut down sometimes 3 and 4 days in a row. What are we doing during special events?
So I think that would probably go back to the traffic engineer. But I would like to make note of the fact that we sat with the city's engineers and the city's traffic engineers to go through this process. We went through an entire stacking scenario. How we redesigned the first floor took all of that into consideration. Where the street on Edison closes, right, would be after this building, right? And there's significant stacking that would take place, and there was I'd say ad nauseum testimony put on the record in terms of why there would not be stacking issues during game days. But Andrew, if you can just refresh that in summary form.
And this is Mr. Vicchio, the traffic engineer.
Correct, Mr. Vicchio again. Edison Place, when it is closed for events, happens roughly around Red's Beer Garden. Which is to the east of our site. So any closure of Edison Place as a result of a special event at the Prudential Center would not preclude anyone from accessing our site. And it's important for that portion of Edison Place to remain open and not the full length of Edison Place because of fire and emergency vehicle access to the rear of the Prudential Center. And also, of course, there are businesses that exist to the left and right of our site that would need to have their access remain. The purpose and the intent of having the residents be able to exit onto Market Street when Edison Place is closed for a special event is so this development before you this evening is not contributing to the traffic that has to traverse the wrong way down Edison Place when Edison Place is closed.
My question is, why can't they come in on days of special events?
Right. I think
With
what
Market.
specifically from Market, I believe, Andrew, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but we discussed that with the city's traffic engineers, and it was something that they did not want to do.
It was, my recollection is that it was preferred to not create a situation where you're having more traffic utilize the Market Street driveway than is absolutely needed because of how busy Market Street is.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions for the architect? Are there questions for the architect from the public? Council.
Thank you. With that, I believe we have John here, or he's here. He's with us.
I'm here, Calvin.
Thank you. Mr. McDonough, you swear affirm the testimony you're about to provide be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
Could you state your name, give us your address and relationship to this application, please?
Sure thing. Hi there, everyone. My name is John McDonough. My address is 101 Gibraltar Drive in Parsippany, New Jersey, and I am the project planner.
And Mr. McDonough, is your planning license in the state of New Jersey in full force and effect?
It is, yes, Mr.
Mr.
Chair.
McDonough is well known to this board. We'll accept him as an expert in the field of planning. We will be upset, however, if he has come yet again without pictures. Counsel.
John, can you go through the planning here and specifically address the planning test that is required to achieve the variance we are requesting today?
Sure thing. All of the things that I said for preliminary approval hold true here. Obviously is going to be a showpiece project for the city. Right in the heart of the city, we're going to provide a premium building, an accent building here that will be one of the transformative projects that are going to catapult the city into the next century, showing the city as progressive and transforming that beautiful skyline with yet another beautiful building from this architect. I think as we've landed here with final approval, we vetted out some of the concerns that came out through Mr. Traficante's report with respect to traffic in particular. I think the movements out to market were a game changer for this project as we went through preliminary. They have held solid as we have moved over into final, and the refinements of the plan have moved this application certainly to the stance where relief can be granted without any substantially adverse impacts to the public. From a traffic standpoint, which is the primary concern here, the entire project will flow, function, and operate safely and efficiently. Mr. Chair, I don't think I need any exhibits here because Mr. Marat's exhibits speak to themselves as to the beautiful showpiece project this is. It has held forth. We are in two redevelopment districts. We straddle both the Living Downtown District and the downtown core. Remember, we don't need relief from the Living Downtown, which is where the project primarily falls. A piece of the building is going to fall into the downtown core. That's what's triggering the height relief. But again, it's relatively minor in the context of the overall building itself. There's parking relief, which Andrew addressed under preliminary, has not changed or worsened under final. So those two big variances that the board moved on with preliminary have not worsened, have held intact, and the plan as a whole, all of those positives that we said before carry forth now as we work our way through final. So this remains, again, a positive project for the city, for the community, without any substantially adverse impacts, impairment to the zone plan or to the public at large. With that, we'll pause. Calvin, if you got anything else without any pictures, I'm here.
I got nothing for you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, and nor did Mr. McDonough have anything for us.
Sorry.
As far as picture, are there any questions for the planner? Questions for the planner from the board? Are there questions for the planner from the public? Counsel, you have any other witnesses?
I do not.
At this time, I ask if there are if any members of the public care to make a statement regarding this application. If you care to make a statement regarding this application, I ask that you raise your hand using the raise hand feature at the bottom of the computer screen or your mobile device. If you're on a telephone, you can press *9. I'd ask you to do so now. I see no raised hands. Counsel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Only thing I have to say is I'm blessed to be here with you all this evening for a building that I think will stand the test of time and really become a centerpiece for our city. You know, growing up here and understanding that we've been trying to actually live out being a Renaissance city and being here today and being a part of it with you all is tremendous. So with that, I thank you all for your time and I turn it over to this board.
Thank you. We're now in discussion. May I have discussion from the board? Discussion from the board.
Chair,
Commissioner Hall.
I think this is a great project. I recognize that a lot of work went into it. from both the applicant and from my colleagues on this board. I was impressed with it the first round we went through. I think it was important that all of the wrinkles were ironed out as it relates to traffic and entry on either side of it. So a lot more thought went into it. And, you know, this is a project, when they cut the ribbon, I may go stand outside across the street and be there. So I'm very much in favor.
Thank you. Further comments from the board? Further comments from the board?
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Monfort, I was hoping you'd have something to say.
Well, I'm very satisfied that the city and the applicant has worked on this project to meet some of the challenges that were there when you're building a building of that size in the heart of the city. And the plan was to have vehicles cross over high traffic streets. Just was not comfortable with doing the right thing downtown. And I think this is now a better plan, and I'll be in favor of it.
Thank you, Commissioner Vice Chair Montford. Additional comments from the board? This is a unique building. It's humongous, but not as humongous as 744. When the ribbon cutting is here, I expect Mr. Mutlu to be here to cross the river. I know that's something New Yorkers try not to do, but
I live on this side, Chair.
Oh, okay, touche. Coming to Newark, and this is a radically different building. I want to thank the board for looking at this hard. I know we gave conniptions to council's team, but Vice Chair Montford was really intent on having them work out the parking, the entry and exit, and it just works so much better this way. There's still some things to be worked out. I'm confident that they will be. I'm going to ask Ms. Mejia to pull all the tapes because I want to make sure we don't forget any of the conditions that we placed. I know there were quite a few. I thank council for helping us remember as many as he can, but he's not too much younger than I am. He's getting forgetful too, so the tapes will help. No, actually, he's way younger than I am. So I want to thank the applicant, council and the applicant's team and the board for their hard work on this. Are there any other comments from the board? If none, may I have a motion, please?
Chair, I'd like to make the motion, but I don't have the application.
This is application ZBA 24-002, 200-208 Market Street, and 21-23 Edison Place. Commissioner Hall.
Thank you. I'd like to make
Second.
Thank you.
Is that with conditions, Commissioner Hall?
With all of the conditions and terms and everything.
Motion, Commissioner Hall, second, Vice Chair Monfort. Call the roll, please.
Member Hall,
Yes.
Member Hardesty, Member Hardesty,
Yes.
Member Jones,
Yes.
Member Cobian,
No.
Member Torres,
No.
Vice Chair Mumford. He just, Vice Chair Mumford,
I don't see him.
I think you just lost him.
yeah.
I see him.
You do?
I see him. But it's like it's a disconnect.
We have to wait for his vote. You give him a call to see if he can log back in. Okay, Vice Chair Mumford's gonna log back in. He lost service for a second.
When Vice Chair Montfort comes back in, can we just can you just relate to him the recorded votes? Ms. Mejia?
Yes. For the record, Vice Chair Mumford, Member Hall, Hardesty, Jones have voted yes. Member Cobian and Member Torres have voted no.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, Vice Chair Mumford.
Did you hear that, Vice Chair Montfort?
Yes, I'm voting yes.
And Chair Alfont.
Yes. Application, that's 5 votes, application is approved. Council, would you agree to accept site plan approval? I think we have preliminary, but I think it was conditional preliminary. Would you agree to continue site plan approval, conditional preliminary and conditional final? And that those conditions being that you meet to the satisfaction of our board staff and city staff, that you've met all conditions agreed to?
Yes.
Thank you. Can I have a motion for conditional preliminary and conditional final site plan approval?
Motion.
Motion Hall, may I have a second?
Second.
Second Jones, call the roll, please.
Member Hall,
Yes.
Member Hardesty,
Yes.
Member Jones,
Yes.
Member Cobian,
No.
Member Torres,
No.
Vice Chair Mumford,
Yes.
Chair Alfont.
Yes, your preliminary, your conditional preliminary and conditional final site plan approval have been approved. Congratulations, good luck.
Thank you. I appreciate you all. Have a good night. I'm glad we were able to do it in a short fashion. Thank you.
Yeah, no more than we. council resolutions.
Yes, we have one resolution. It's CBA 24-48, 272-274, New York Avenue.
Are there any proposed revisions or dissents? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Member Hall,
Yes.
Member Hardesty,
Yes.
Member Comesañas,
Yes.
Member Jones,
Yes.
Member
Can I be
Rivera.
heard?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Vice Chair Manfred,
Yes.
Chair Alphonse.
Yes. Any further resolutions?
No, sir, that's all I have for the night.
Are there any minutes to be memorialized?
Not at this time.
Council, any reasons why we why we must convene into executive session?
No, sir, not at this time.
Ms. Juma? Oh, no. Oh, no. Ms. Juma, we talked to you about this.
Yes. However, I won't be at your next meeting, but my usual housekeeping reminder is regarding resolutions. You know, I get the calls and complaints. So as a reminder, just letting you know that there are a few pending from 2024 and more pending from this year. Applicants have been calling, requesting their memorialized resolution.
I'm not sure how many are pending. I don't think we have anything for 24, but for 2025, we're up to March.
So there's 6 pending from 2024, and the last time I checked, there was about 7 from this year.
Right, for March and April. Those are the 2 months that are pending. We're still within the 45-day provided under the statute. So I believe we've done our best, both Michael and I, to produce the resolutions as quickly as we can. I think we've done a phenomenal job this year. Like I said, we only have March and April for 25. I don't have the 2024 pending list. I'm not sure though why those are still pending, but
Ms. Juma,
if I can just say on behalf of Mr. Plata and myself, a lot of times we have applicants emailing like 2 weeks after the application is heard. We don't have the minutes, so we can't really produce the resolution. And we would appreciate it if those applicants can be referred or redirected to us, Michael and I, and we'll deal with their attorneys.
I think that's a fair request. Ms. Juma, I wonder if you can send out an email listing the 2024 outstanding resolutions.
Will do.
Thank you. We're not here next week, are we, Ms. Juma?
Well, your next meeting is the 15th.
And you'll be there?
No, I won't. I will be on vacation, a very, very long awaited vacation.
Good for you, Ms. Juma.
When was your last vacation, Ms. Juma? You took a vacation not too long ago, I recall.
You said when was I worked really hard, and it's been a long time since I had a real vacation. So I'm going to Ghana. 2 weeks.
Going back to the motherland.
Yes, I am.
Wow. We're envious. Safe travels to you. I'll warn you, don't look at your email. Do not bring a phone. Lose the cell phone. Because you know they'll be calling you. Safe travels.
Enjoy the month of May, I guess. I'll see you. Oh, you have another, no, that's your last meeting? Oh, the 29th. So I'll see you on the 29th.
Great. Safe travels.
Is this print still not working?
Excuse me, did someone?
Did I get new?
Okay. So happy May Day, everyone. There's nothing further on the agenda. We all wish Miss Juma safe travels. Começando-
Traveling mercies.
Começando, take your allergy pill.
I did.
I know.
He's not the only one. What are you taking? I need it because my eyes are burning.
I take Zyrtec at night and Montelcast in the morning. These are rough times. A motion to adjourn is always in order.
Move it.
Everybody in approval say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Be well, everyone.
On the 15th.
Right.
Happy May Day.
Good night, everyone.